Welcome to the Gray Area. The Gray Area Media. We've obligated ourselves to be the voice for all communities, speaking on topics that include community, religion, education, politics, technology, sports, health, and wellness. The Gray Area Media is a platform created by longtime friends for the sole purpose of providing our communities with the ability to voice current, past, and modern day issues. The Gray Area, in its naming significance, solely speaks to the area in which people shy away from speaking because of media-based constraints or contractual-based obligations. Well, I'm here to tell you, we don't do that here. So please, stay tuned in. We're gonna go live in a few minutes. Don't forget, please add us as a friend on Facebook so that you can follow our live feed. And not only that, please add us on Twitter and Instagram at The Gray Area Media. Please visit our website at www.thegrayareamedialive.com. Thank you. Hello, viewers. We are live right now. This is The Gray Area, and this is your boy, Ray E.
This is your boy P. Wills. What's happening?
This is Ebony.
Ebony in the building. We have some very special guests for you guys today, and we are digging deeper. We didn't showed you how to cook healthy. We didn't showed you plenty of ways to get healthy, but today we're gonna dig even deeper. We're gonna talk about the science of urban food farming. We're gonna go into eugenics right away. And what real health and wellness is. A lot of times that we think getting healthy is just going to the health food store and grabbing a few things, but we're going to dig a little deeper into what you can do at home and in your own backyard. So we have Vivian Muhammad. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Assalamu
Wa
alaikum, sister.
alaikum salam.
Thanks for being here, Steve Muhammad,
Assalamu alaikum.
and my man Sabeko Jawanza.
Yes, sir. How y'all doing?
How y'all doing,
Good,
man?
good,
So
good.
what I would like you guys to do is to let people know exactly what you all do individually, so that they can understand who's talking to them and your background. So we can start with you, Sabeko.
Sabeko Jawanza, I like to call myself a community servant. Currently, I just accepted a position at the Flanner House, dealing with the Flanner House
Shout
farms
out to
over
B.
there.
Cosby and the Flanner House.
You know, that's
Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
appreciate that. Also here representing the food co-op, Red Beans and Greens.
absolutely. Yes, sir. Steve?
Yep. Well, barber by trade, and consider myself a health coach. But yeah, I've been cutting hair now 25 years legally, maybe a little less than that. I was doing a lot of bootlegging stuff before then, but yeah, man, just you meet a lot of interesting people, and I study a lot. So as a barber, I learned recently that barbers used to be doctors, and we can go into that in a little bit. But until the corporations kind of took over medicine, the barbers actually had a medical practice. That's what a barber pole is: red and white,
Wow.
right? The red is the blood, the white is the galls, and barbers did everything from amputations to minor surgeries and
What?
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So that's a recent finding for me. So I'm kind
Wow.
of say health
Didn't know
coach,
that
not a
at
doctor.
all.
Yeah.
Man. Vivian?
My name is Vivian Muhammad, as you said, and I operate an urban farm, which we call the Elephant Gardens, and
Okay.
later I'll get into the whys and wherefores of the elephant name.
Okay.
But we have a half an acre right in quote unquote the hood.
Okay.
We're at 3348 North Sherman, and we also have a lot that we're presently developing that's right around the corner from that. Essentially, we not only grow food, vegetables mainly, but we do have some fruit trees organically using organically accepted methods, but we also teach and train
Okay.
the youth and anybody in the community, frankly, that wants to know how to grow food for themselves.
Okay.
Wow. It's powerful.
Awesome. Wow. I mean, I love that you guys are here today. And but let's talk about eugenics. Eugenics, man. I mean, we was talking briefly before this. Some stuff that just blew my mind. Some things I didn't know, and I love that we have these shows because this is where I learn as well.
Exactly.
So let's talk about eugenics and where it all began, and go in deeper into some things in regards to that.
Okay, I'll give a shot at that. It was first coined in 1883 by the cousin of the so-called famous liar who developed the evolution theory. which said that all life started from a single cell and evolved to the Nordic white man. And that lie says that black people got hung up somewhere between chimpanzee and man. And that white man is the fully evolved man. And then by them, well, we know that's a lie. I don't even want to waste no time with that, y'all. But we can deal with that. But that's just, it's really silly. Kind of almost comedic. But in truth, so his cousin, Charles Darwin's cousin, Francis Galton, and I hope people listening take notes, because this stuff, you can own this information after hearing it. But Francis Galton developed the science of eugenics, because he said, well, wait a minute, if these people are lesser peoples, then if we mingle with them, interact genetically or whatnot, then we pollute our gene pool, and individual will be a germline. So the theory then was to cull all non-whites. See, this is really what Hitler, this is what Nazi science is based on. Cull, which cull means to mass kill, mass eliminate the undesirables, and they would mask that in saying those who were retarded, or those who were promiscuous, or those who were alcoholic. They would try to, the thing that they do now, say you're a thug, or try to label you. But it was basically about eliminating the darker people and coming up with sciences and means and ways of perpetuating the desired class, the Nordic, the white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed class. And so that was in 1883 when he coined it, and Indiana was the first state in the world to make it a state law, forced sterilization, 1907.
Now, that is interesting. The first state in the world.
I know, it's amazing. I mean, this
Put
was all
a
new
law
for me
in
too.
place.
That's
I
right.
mean, you would think like a state like New York or California
Yeah.
would be the first, but Indiana.
That's right. And it's Indiana. Let me back up a little bit before eugenics. That was 1883, but in 1851, Indiana rewrote its constitution to include the Negro Exclusion Act. See, this is Constitution, y'all. Rewrote the Constitution in 1851 to include the Negro Exclusion Act. Indiana was supposed to be a state solely for white people. So in 1843 or 47, when Liberia and the Back to Africa movement was established, their law in Indiana was that if you catch a white person harboring a black person, that you fine them $3,000 to $5,000. Much of it would be used to send them to Africa, and the other rest would be, I guess, whatever the state pockets or whatnot.
And where is that information at? Is it in that book right there, or is it?
The information on Galton, it's in this book. But the Negro Exclusion Act is
I'll
not. Please pull it up.
I'll put this
man.
link.
Yeah, and I
I'll
just
put this
literally
link.
ordered 2 copies.
I'll put this
Oh,
link on the
that's
feed
wonderful.
right now,
Wonderful, man.
so you
That's
guys
wonderful.
can see. And follow.
And this guy, he's Paul Lombardo. He's a white guy. He's an Italian guy. And this book is peer-reviewed, IU Press Club. So, like, nobody can say it's somebody's opinion. And it's all facts and documents. There's a group of people called the Tribe of Ishmael. And in 1882 or 3, these were mainly black ex-slaves, some indigenous Native Americans, and some poor whites who would hang around with them, and mainly in Kentucky, the Midwest, so Illinois, a little bit of Ohio and Indiana, was this people that they called the Tribe of Ishmael. And they said they were, bums or paupers and all this kind of stuff. But naturally, they didn't want statehood. They were sovereigns is what they were. And they wouldn't settle down to be taxed and be considered citizens. So they saw them as a problem. And they said that if we keep this population to a minimum, we will ultimately have a good financial footing and all of this. And what we should realize today, y'all, is that Indiana has a AAA credit rating right now, the lowest black population of any major big city. And so by them putting these laws in practice of extermination and genocide and keeping black population to a minimum, now they boast as having probably one of the most exemplary European-dominated cities in the country. I don't think nobody can argue that.
I think Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, Gary, and then maybe Terre Haute. And other than that, you're not going to have too many black folks in the area in Indiana.
That's right.
That's going to be,
That's
it's
right.
only about 4 areas where you're going to have a main population of significance.
Right. There's also some places around the country as well that don't have many black folks.
That's right, exactly. That's what I'm
Okay.
going to say. We're not the only. Let's be more clear. There was 30 states in America and 12 countries around the world who were doing eugenics prior to
Okay.
Germany. Yeah, so this wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't just Indiana. I don't want
Right,
to make that. No.
Gotcha.
But of course, California, New York. But the headquarters of eugenics started here in 1907, and it moved to Cold Springs Manor, New York, in 1910. In 1910, then the headquarters moved, and they don't talk about Indiana. Most time you study eugenics, it'll say 1910 New York, and that. But if you
Right.
do a real search, in this book highlights that it actually started in Indiana.
Why is I'm sorry.
Oh, please. Sis said mention the name of the book. It's called A Century of Eugenics in America. But the most interesting thing about the book that I really want us to pay attention to, y'all, is that from the Indiana experiment to the human genome era, See, that right there, the human genome era, I have to be honest, man, is something that we are grossly overlooking.
And that's why I was going to ask you
guys see this?
how the book, or not the book, how does eugenics actually tie into our health and our well? How does all of that tie into it? Because it does have
it
has a relationship, a correlation. So
certainly,
that's what I wanted. I wanted to
That's
start
right,
out with.
that's
We
right.
want to start out with
That's
the
right.
eugenics because it is. I mean, because we have a tree, and then we have the tree back here
That's
that
right.
we want to explain to everybody and
That's right.
just help us to kind of. I guess we can kind of start there and just go just through the line of how it actually comes back in full circle to our health and wellness, modern day, and tie it all in for
It's
us.
really because it's really all about you understanding
Right.
where things started at,
Yes.
where the problem started, you know, health wise, and now you can kind of tie that into what you need to do to be healthy.
That's
Yes.
right. I got you.
And
Right.
by the way, Wonder no longer, while Indiana is ranked pretty much at the top or the lowest, depending on how you look at it, for food deserts, which means that out of all the largest cities in the country, Indiana is ranking number 1 for the most food deserts. the
And that
most-
simply means like a lot of food stores are
Yeah, explain that
closing,
to our
and there's
viewers.
access to food.
Basically, access to healthy food.
Healthy food.
Because we have access to food in the hood,
Okay.
really food stuff.
Right, 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 right.
But as far as healthy food, fresh fruits and vegetables in particular, there is literally a desert in the hoods of America, and in particular, is the largest cities. In Indianapolis ranks number 1 for that. It also ranks number 1 for some of the
What
worst,
would exclude a
worst
store?
water.
What would exclude a store from being a healthy food store? Like, 'cause I know that there's like Fresh Time, and there's a couple of these stores that are considered healthy stores. What would exclude a store from being a healthy store?
Well,
Like-
the lack of fresh fruits and vegetables is
Okay.
really key.
Okay.
And it's all about also distance, walking distance. The walkability in Indianapolis, they're trying to improve it in certain areas. Excuse me, but for the most part, the walkability is an issue. Meaning, many people in poor neighborhoods don't have access to healthy food by way of walking, being able to
Right.
walk to get it.
Gotcha.
And they either have to take the bus, get a ride, in order to go to a store outside of their 1-mile, 2-mile, 3-mile radius in order to get healthy, fresh fruits and vegetables, and
Wow.
even farther if we're really talking organic.
Right.
And frankly, you can't really talk healthy if you're not talking organic, because that goes back to eugenics, because
That's exactly
the way
right.
eugenics has been practiced on the body,
Right.
it's also now GMOs. Genetically modified foodstuff or foods
That's
are
right.
exactly really another aim. It's another form of attack to accomplish the above said.
So
That's
so
right,
so
that's
so
right.
let's rewind. Let's rewind real quick. So GMOs, now the standard, what is considered safe GMOs, was invented based on the practice of eugenics.
No, what
You-
we're
you-
saying is that the two are tied in the
Together.
sense that
Okay.
you're dealing with genetics.
And the
You're
woven.
dealing with
Okay.
the manipulation of
Okay,
genes.
got you, okay.
And the culling of the population that Brother Steve mentioned,
Yeah.
one of the many avenues or ways, and probably, frankly, the main avenue nowadays that they're going after it outside of vaccinations is through the food.
That's right.
They're using the food as a means by which to basically create
Experiment.
toxicity
That's right.
in our
Right.
bodies.
That's right. And you know what? To
Wow.
add on to what Sis just said, this is something to really understand when you look at Nazi Germany. You can go to CIA.gov and type in Operation Paperclip on CIA.gov. So this is the thing. America brought the police. Have a brother said, "Let's
Yeah.
do it now." That's what I love, man. They brought 2,000 Nazi scientists from Germany to America,
Absolutely.
saying that Russia would get them if if they didn't bring them here. And one of the things they did, one of the premier bacteriologists, his name is Eric Traub. Eric Traub, Traub.
Operation what, brother?
Paperclip.
Paperclip.
And he was very instrumental in establishing many various so-called think tanks. Let me say this, USDA.
Okay.
He was very responsible with establishing the USDA, and they call it agriculture, USDA, agriculture, the Department of Agriculture, but it's not true. They really were doing the the combination viruses like the bugs, the viruses, the bacterias, and how to come up with these kind of foot and mouth and all these strange Lyme disease. Okay, perfectly. This is a perfect example. This same island is at an eye's distance from Lyme, Connecticut. This is just a perfect example. When you hear people have Lyme disease, it's a growing epidemic right now,
Right.
mainly affecting middle-aged white women, ironically, but it's not irony. It's probably some kind of reciprocity or some kind of karma. But the idea is that this people in the coastal Lyme, Connecticut, all came down with these same symptoms. Like I was talking, neurological, dysbiosis, and you name it. So the whole town on the coastal region come up with this disease, and then they discovered and learned that within an eye's distance, this experimental lab, like tick-borne diseases, Borrelia, Bartonella, Babesia, Mycoplasma, these are strange organisms that kind of are combination pathogens. So they'll have the infectiousness of something, the invasiveness of something else. They'll kind of morph. These are the new diseases that we see, ALS. There's no coincidence that
Zika.
Lucius Lyons, Zika, come on, sis. These kinds of new things is a result of this kind of science. So they established the USDA, and like sis said, so Nazi scientists were perfecting this in Germany, but nobody wants to say they were back and forth from Rockefeller University, Johns Hopkins Hospital, back to Germany, back and forth. See,
Do y'all think AIDS was evolved in
there
this?
is no question about it. There's no question about it.
Yeah, like,
And
question about it.
fluoridated water was
Come on.
born out of that
That's right.
same.
That's right.
They began to fluoridate the water of the United States when they brought over those Nazis.
I've heard that man
scientists.
before. Well, what is the problem with fluoridated water? Yeah.
It's extremely toxic
Okay.
to brain development.
That's right.
There's a lot of research on it, and,
right.
and of course it affects black children far worse than it does any other race.
That's right.
Indiana, one of the first to fluoridate the
Okay.
water. And,
That's right.
Are they still doing that?
And one
Right
of the
now,
highest
right now.
floor, and there's no evidence that really substantiates
Okay.
that drinking fluoridated water has any positive impact on the teeth. In fact, just
Or
the
brushing
opposite.
with it for that matter. Yeah,
Yeah,
any
but-
use of fluoride. They don't have any
Right.
proof for it.
But-
Is this fluoridated water?
Okay.
Drinking water.
We're gonna,
might be. You have to
yeah.
look at it, see.
Oh, y'all gonna have me looking at
Hold on for a
everything
second.
funny.
Hold on for a
You
second.
better be looking at everything.
Hold on for a
Water.
second.
Everything funny.
So-
Wait a minute.
So,
Aaron Brockovich, where are you? Yeah, but the water is definitely contaminated in Indiana. It's also has one of the worst water ratings of any state. Actually, probably number one.
the alkaline level. that
No,
what you're
the just the
Toxicity, you know.
toxicity
Wow.
of the water, the bacteria, the
Pharmaceutical
pathogens.
waste product,
Lily is
That's right.
here, so you have to understand.
So is fluoride in every home?
Wow.
Yeah, it's in all the water. It's in the
Whoa,
water
Lily
supply.
is here. It's right next to the water plant. Oh my
It's in
goodness.
all the like. Hold
And-
on for a second. I'm like, so the fluoride is in all of the homes.
Yeah, the
Like,
water
so-
supply.
And it doesn't matter which area of town that you live in.
Yeah, it's just fluoridated. Yeah.
So how do
Chlorinated,
you
everything.
not use it?
What is their
Yeah,
purpose
you
for
you have
using
your
it?
own, do you have your own
you-
water source?
You have to.
Sis
I mean, I
Tell them
live
about your
in
filtration
McCoursville,
Yeah, let's
so like like
Sis got a filtration
You
system.
can, you can get whole house filtration systems that clean your water, or you can buy ones that fit underneath your sink, shower, Berkey's are one.
so where would I get that from?
You go online. We can give
Yeah,
that
please
information.
let me
There's a
know,
lot
yeah.
of different. If people want to Google, how to clean their water, there a host of information comes up. You'll have to really do your research to try to find the ones that really fit your needs. If you live in an apartment, obviously you can't do a whole house water filtration system, but you can. Buy purifiers that hook onto your showers, that hook underneath your sink for your drinking water. So there are ways to clean your water, and there are also ways to test your water.
Do you see when you do that? Do you see the what do you call it? The stuff
Like the-
that it
it's
catches?
filtered out? In my particular system, no. It's like flushed out.
Okay.
The system itself cleans itself
Oh,
every
okay.
so often.
So it
It's on a
separates and it
timer.
okay.
But I imagine what you can see is, or what you don't see is a lot of the hard water stains and things like that that you see when the water is not
Right.
clean. And we're not talking about water softeners. Water softeners don't have anything to do with cleaning the water and purifying
It just
it
softens
of
the water.
chlorine and fluoride. Right. You need to do a little bit more research to get the water filters that are that are fit your particular needs. But you'll have to do your research on it, but you need to.
That's right.
The
Okay.
water, ironically, one of the ways we're taught to detox, of course, is to drink more water. But what if the water is poisoned?
Right.
And frankly, poisoning the water of a population in order to cull them is nothing new.
Or
right.
Wow.
Is that the same? I'm sorry.
No,
Is that the
yes,
same
go
thing
ahead.
with like well water, or if somebody has their own kind of system of water, they're independent from that? You know what I'm saying? So you got to kind of watch that, or is it pretty safe in terms
Yeah,
of dealing with
because I
that?
know a lot of people that get well water, and
I
how
don't
does
think
how's
it's
that
safe. It
flirt?
probably ain't fluoridated, but I doubt. I mean, it's not safe. It's got
Right.
the heavy metals and different stuff in it. So you
Still gotta
wanna-
treat it the
yeah,
same
you still wanna
way.
treat it, yeah.
You should clean your water. Even with my garden, we put on filters, carbon filters for the hoses before we
Yeah.
water, so you can
Indeed.
even.
I
Very
sit down
good.
yes, it's very
Yeah,
down
you
there,
can you
though.
can clean.
Mhm.
I mean,
You
you
don't have to
can.
come
Right,
to my
you-
house.
right,
You gotta
right.
come through.
Right,
Okay,
right.
You gotta come
You
to
gotta
the
come through with a
I
check.
start farming, but
All
I
that.
ain't even thought about the water hose.
Yeah, you gotta think
The
about
Honorable
gotta
it.
watch the
Minister
water
Farrakhan
hose.
has like
Yep.
a triple or quadruple filtration system in the
Right.
greenhouse water system on the farm.
And like Sid
Because-
said, greenhouse, what's important, we have to eventually get to greenhouses because we all
Gotta
exposed to
grow
the
them.
toxic water, the chemtrails, like the environment. So even if rain's
Growing
coming
your
on
own
it,
food.
come on,
Right.
Sid, so you have to, it's levels.
Right.
This is at a certain level, but she'll tell you it's levels, it keeps going because even if I filter my own water, but if rain comes down every, you're getting the same
Right.
result essentially.
Right.
A little less filtering your own, but if you had a controlled environment where
Right.
you literally filter the air that's coming in. That's what I've been thinking about lately. It's literally some carbon filters that the air and the fans that circulate the air. That way you're not bringing in the toxic air. Because what we taking for granted, y'all, is how toxic the air is. We think that
Right.
clouds are what we see in the sky every day. And we're looking at an artificial sky. That's a whole nother subject. I don't want to waste to get into that because people think about chemtrails, but that's
sure.
geoengineering.
But
Yeah,
the-
yeah.
Geoengineering.
But the good news is that in all of this, so that your listeners won't say, "Dang," is that there are ways that you can detoxify your body, and you can be in a constant state of detoxification
That's right.
through how you eat,
Okay.
what you
right.
eat,
So your body does it for you.
how often you
Right,
eat.
yeah.
right.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad promoted 1 meal a day because through that process you can eat, by eating once in a day, you allow your body 24 hours to detoxify, essentially, because every meal, every time you eat something, it's got some level of poison / toxins in it.
Yeah, that's
right.
By spacing your meals, and of course now they're calling it intermittent fasting, and they're coming up with all these fancy names
Right.
for 1 meal a day.
Right.
But that's one method. The other is what you eat, of course. There are vegetables and fruits that you can eat. Cilantro, one of the best ways to
Pea
draw
lettuce.
lead out of
That's
your
right.
bloodstream is cilantro.
Wow.
There are all kinds of herbs. There are all kinds of teas that you can make. There are all kinds of foods that you can eat. Lemons, just by sprinkling some lemons in
Yeah.
your water
I
instead
do
of just
that a
drinking.
lot.
Yeah, instead of just drinking plain water, drink lemon water, where you take organically grown lemons and squeeze a little in your water. It helps to keep your system clean and helps to draw out toxins out of your system.
Is there a particular time, if I ate 1 meal per day, is
Between,
there
between 4 and 6
in the morning or night?
in the evening.
In the evening, okay.
And there are reasons for that, but we won't go into all of that. But how to eat to live, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yeah, yeah.
Book one and
Let
two.
me
Book one and
inject
two.
this to you.
Yeah.
I just want to inject this last idea. I get that a lot. When we talk about health and stuff, with black people in particular, y'all, we want to get to the solution so fast. Now, I get it. But the reason why we fail in the scientific fields, not fail, but when we don't get into them, because they demand problem solving. You can't solve a problem, just say, what's the answer? And you don't really intricately understand the problem. Like I play chess. You can get frustrated and say, you better know every move I'm doing, the combinations, and why you do this, that, and the other. If not, I was doing natural health stuff for 20 years and didn't know what I was doing because I didn't really understand what I was going
Right.
after. Like, you don't understand biochemistry.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't
Right.
understand synergism. You don't understand that you can take these two things that cancel each other out.
Right,
You don't
right,
want to do
right.
diatomaceous or bentonite when you're doing something else because you got to just know it. So it takes a lot more studying, and it almost frustrates me when I see us get to that. That's why we go get credit cards. That's why we swipe. That's why we microwave stuff. We're not patient. So we have to slow down and understand that we have to get more intricately involved in anything we're doing. If you're gardening, just tell you, it ain't about throwing a seed in the ground. Man, you got to baby the soil. You got to build your compost. You got to know why you had to have so much mycelium in the compost. It's so it's
worms
layers,
and
brother. You know, it's layers. So you can't just start. You got to really. I guess for me, it's frustrating that our minds sometimes want to run to the answers so fast, and we're not even looking at the problem.
Right.
And we got
The right way. And I'm not
Right,
saying,
right.
but when we look at problem, we think that's being negative. I'm like, no, it's not. I got 4 daughters, and the moment I talk to them about critical thinking, within like 2 minutes, they all looking sad. And I'm like, oh, God, this is not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to
Right,
get y'all to
right.
think. But
Right.
we think thinking is boring. That's what 50 Cent told Jay-Z. You should
Yeah,
have made
yeah.
it dumber. That
Right,
kind of thing,
right.
man. you
Why?
know? So it's just frustrating for me that we
got,
run from that.
We got to understand in our society, we're in a fast food,
That's right.
microwave society.
That's
And
right.
So,
Right.
you know, there's no easy way to this. We can't be lazy because the people
That's
who
right.
orchestrated this was not lazy
Thank
about
you.
it. You know what I'm saying? It's
Thank you,
been
brother.
thousands
Thank you.
of years
Nerds.
in putting
Real
this
nerds.
together. You know
That's
what
right,
I mean?
brother. That's
So if you're thinking you're going to a fast food restaurant and eating healthy because you're getting a salad, you know what I'm saying? You're not thinking far enough.
Right.
You got to go into where that salad's coming from, how
Right.
it's packaged, and
Come
exactly
on.
what it's in, what it took for it to get to place A to
Right,
place B.
right, 'cause it's still fast food.
It's not going to be local.
That's
It's
right.
not going to be
Right.
organic.
That's
you know
right,
what I'm saying? So if you take that lazy approach and just say, okay, I'm just going to take this alternative that's given to me, instead of going out and actually seeing what's good for you and what you need, you know, and taking the symptoms that your body is looking at and research and understand what kind of foods you need to eat at a particular time in order to treat those symptoms. You know, you got to
Right.
do that. And so that's self-sufficiency, and that's what food co-ops are all about. That's what the sister's doing with her garden and things like that.
That's right.
Brother over here doing his own research, you know what I'm saying, and things like that. You know, you can't be lazy about these things.
We
Right,
didn't pill
absolutely.
our way into this situation. We're not
Right.
going to pill our way out.
That's right.
You're not going to be able to pop pills
That's
and,
right,
and
sis.
find a solution. That's why true health food stores don't have a lot of pills in them. They have healthy food.
That's right.
And this is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said how to eat to live, meaning implying a lifestyle. Not some quick, let me fix this
Thank you,
problem
sis.
and
Thank you.
then go on
Right.
about my
You got to redo
usual.
your whole eating
It's a
structure.
lifestyle.
That's right.
It's a way of life. It's a way of living. It's something we need to completely revamp how we live.
That's right.
And in every aspect of it. And if you're lazy and you don't want to do the hard work
Yeah.
and incrementally change your lifestyle,
That's right.
then you won't get the results that you're really after. It
That's
will
right.
really, you'll
Right.
We have and we had a question from a viewer, and before I got to that, I did want to say, just going back to the water, and I don't want to steal the show from y'all, but it was on my thought.
Yeah.
Just to drive that water home, I did a field trip to a water plant. If you ever had a chance to go to a water plant. So they literally showed us the process, the Indianapolis water plant, of how when the water comes through, they rake all the toilet paper out, rake all the other stuff out, take it through the filtration process, take it to a lab, and they have these bugs, as they call them, microscopic bugs, to basically, and then they test to see how many bugs are in the water. And they can't get rid of all the bugs. These bugs are basically those toxins. And I mean, this is exactly what they told us. And they said they allow a certain amount of bugs to stay in the water because they can't get rid of everything.
Wow.
So they had this approval level that they send the water back out to our sinks.
Oh my
and to our
goodness.
Well, you
but
know, on
they
water-
showed us how they rake it out of the tissue.
But on
They
water,
gotta
look
fix it.
at what Nestle is doing. Nestle
My
started
goodness.
about 3 or 4 years ago privatizing water out in California. Nestle is. So now water is not considered a right anymore. It's a privilege. And we all are witnessing third world conditions in Flint. Like, I see we're not taking that serious enough.
Right.
Now I've read some reports say it's 300 Flints. So when you start really understanding it, the places that they're pushing us to, the places that poor people are being pushed to. So look at the gentrification in Indianapolis, Chicago, Atlanta, New York. So now the rich people are coming in the inner cities, but the places that they're pushing people to, where's the schools and the trash collection and the delivery of
Right.
mail, clean water. When everything gets privatized like it's getting now, then when you push poor people out to the periphery of the cities, these are the 300 Flints. See? So it's not
Okay.
it's not complicated. And like I
Right.
said, I
Yeah.
play chess, man. And I'm pretty good.
Was-
So it makes you understand. You're looking at the 10 moves down the line. I'm not looking at what
Right,
you're doing
right.
right now. What's the ramifications of this?
Right.
And that's how we have to think.
And what's crazy is that I had a professor in college, and she said, everyone thinks that the next world war is going to be like fire, but she said it's going to be by water.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
I mean, I asked her why, and she just, she really didn't get into details, but she just said no, that she really believed that.
While this is on my mind, I wanted to say the last thing, and I won't say much more on water. What nobody's talking about in Flint, everybody know about the lead, the neurotoxin lead, like our sister was saying. But my mom has a friend named Gwen, and she has Legionnaire's disease. See, nobody's talking
What
about
is that?
this.
I've never heard of that.
Legionnaires. There's an organism called Legionella. Legionella. Now I know the suffix of that word "ella" is like a tail, so it's like a whip. So this gives organisms motility. So it's like a tadpole or a sperm and moves.
Okay.
So but the legion is describing the type of organism, and now the details of it I'm not gonna really go into.
Sure.
But this is a modified organism, just like we were talking about GMOs. These
Right.
are organisms that you haven't even seen before,
Wow.
and that's why we talked about their ability through the genome era to make combination pathogens. There's an article on New York Times that I want to pull up and read a little excerpt from 2001. This is from the science section of New York Times of 2001, about a month and a half after 9/11. And when you read it, y'all, it's mind blowing how they're saying terrorists have gotten a hold to bioweapons and how you can order viruses online. And this is in New York Times, and they're talking about making combination pathogens. And this is 15 years ago, 16 years ago now. So this is like old technology. Where they're making our bodies toxic. Well, but like Sis said, you have to get to chelation, you have to get to detoxing, and you kind of don't want to use individual minerals and herbs and stuff like that by themselves because, orange has vitamin C, but it also has many other trace minerals. Some absorb, some carry, some transport. So if you just take the one, that's like trying to take a Steph Curry and win a championship. You know, it's the chemistry of the whole team. So there's many constituents in our foods that are not just the one thing, but if you know bananas potassium, nope, it's not just potassium, that's the primary.
And
But
that's
there's a
the
lot of
problem.
supporting minerals and
Right, and that's
Right.
actually the
nutrients.
problem with Western so-called medicine is
Come on.
because they want to isolate,
That's right.
vitamin C, and then they make a synthetic version of
Come
it,
on, sis.
ascorbic acid,
Come on.
and then they tell you take this pill, and it's vitamin C,
Come on.
and you take it obediently, thinking I'm taking vitamin C, but as Steve mentioned, vitamin C doesn't really do what you want it to do unless it's working synergistically with all
Other
those
things.
other things
This
that
is
are
right.
in that orange.
Thank
And
you,
it
sis.
is the combination of
That's
all
right.
that synergistic relationship that
Right.
actually
That's right.
causes the vitamin C to be potent.
Wow.
When you just extract vitamin C, create a synthetic man-made version of it, and then put it in a pill and sell it to people, you're not going to get the same result.
That's right.
This is
Right.
why the food is more of a holistic approach to being your medicine
That's
Right.
right.
than pills.
Right. It's the one thing you can control that you can put in your body to undo all the things that are being done.
If you're growing it yourself, you can control
Yeah.
it.
Right.
And let's
Right.
not forget,
Because even if you go into the health food store, it's still not completely healthy.
Yeah,
and let's not
absolutely.
forget our mindset. We're at war, so
Absolutely.
we have to think about it in war tactics. You know what I'm saying? If they put something in the water that's going to contaminate and kill us, we're not going to be able to detect it until people start dying. And
Right.
then you do research, and then you start doing examinations on the water, and then you try to figure out, and then you have something. But how many people have to die for that? So when we're talking about war tactics and domestic terrorism and things like that, and we're in the hood and all that stuff, and we're talking about, we know that these people are after us. We know that these people don't want us, to have those things, and the dependency of that. We can't do anything without water. And it's funny how we went from eugenics and cells to water, and we over here talking about food and how all this is connected, because
It's
that's
the
like
same.
a straight line
It is
right
the
there,
same.
Like you can't have food without the water. So
That's
it's
right.
great that we
That's
talking
right.
about the water first,
That's
because
right.
that's exactly what we're going to need to be
Right,
controlling of
right.
if we want to have the type of food that we want to have.
Right. Right. And when they process foods, they use water to do certain things as well. So
Can't be lazy about
Pat,
this.
Pat brought out the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book, How to Eat to Live 1 and 2. And actually, that's a good segue because I want to also talk about our fathers of, I guess, the proper way to eat. And Dr. Sebi, Sebi, Dr. Sebi, and just how, how they have actually, I guess, evolved, or not evolved, how they actually brought it back to basics for us.
That's right.
But at the same time, we've kind of, I feel like, ignored these
We have.
things.
We have.
And now we're in a state of emergency.
That's right.
Absolutely.
We are. Sister Vivian, she's I think
Don't
a
say
professional
it.
at how
No.
to live. Yes, you are. She's
That's
a
why I
professional
smell like
at it.
bean soup right now.
but so Honorable Elijah Muhammad, obviously he's the first to come and teach us what foods to eat and to say that God told me to tell you this is what to eat. You know, there's nobody, you can't find anybody else who did that. And if you follow his diet of a meal a day and the right foods to eat, then, you know, sickness don't enter into your body.
Is it a coincidence we talking about this on Marcus Garvey's birthday?
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, wow.
Divine synchronicity.
And that's exactly right. That's just right. And that's the combining. That's the combining. But Sebi, obviously, y'all, you know, he goes into different aspects from the alkaline acid balance, mucus, ridding the mucus out of our bodies and stuff like that. That's another aspect that deserves a lot of attention as far as the mucus forming foods and stuff. Your dairies and your meats and your sugars and all these different kinds of GMOs. They literally create the environment of acidity that produces the disease. So instead of going after a particular disease, we're trying to bring the body back to a balance, an alkaline balance, a state of homeostasis, as they say, which it heals itself.
Right,
You know, everything's flowing, everything's detoxing, you're absorbing. A lot of times the reason why we can't get good health, even eating good foods, because we have a buildup of this mucus in our small intestines, which closes up the little hairs, a little villi that sucks the nutrients into our blood.
And we don't think the right thoughts. One of the things that I love about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is that he was holistic in his approach. Because we are not just a physical body. There is a spiritual being that is housed by this body. And that being said, we also have to get our minds right. If you feed off of filth to your
mind is messed up.
Then your mind is messed up. If you think filthy thoughts, if you full of jealousy and envy towards your brothers and your sisters, murder, I hate her, she thinks she's cute, and all that other ridiculous stuff, then those things serve to also undermine our health. Because it's all interconnected.
So you're saying we can eat healthy, but if our thoughts are not in that same mind frame or that same process right there, it can cancel out everything that you're trying to do.
Right.
And you know what, to add on what Sister saying, it's not just a person who's not religious say, I don't believe that, but it's not about that. When you're full of fear and envy and jealousy, your body's kicked up, you're kicking up your cortisol, your adrenal glands, you know what I mean? So you're really doing physical things to your body. Like oxidative stress, you get nervous, your heart starts beating, you have to use the restroom. You start going through physical changes from what goes on in your thinking. So it's not just like spooky. It's really connected, even though it's mental and spiritual. It still has a physical bearing.
Yes.
We have a question from Christopher. He says, how does changing your diet affect your body immediately if you've been eating one way and then all of a sudden you change it? Is it like a withdrawal effect, like if you're withdrawing from addictive substances, things like that? Or is it a gradual release, basically?
And I think I'm sorry, I mean, I don't know if Chris is 40, but that's what he said. He said,
he's at 40s.
Okay. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is when you do begin to change your diet, you can experience certain withdrawals, just like if you fast and take sugar out of your diet. So when you first start a fast, say you do a one-day fast, some people say, I immediately got a headache, and so I ate something. Well, your body wasn't telling you to eat. It was actually thanking you, and it was actually going to work now to deal with the toxicity that's built up in your body. And as those toxins start to get released, it can produce a headache. But it's not your body saying, eat something. It's actually your body doing its job. So I always say it in the simplest way. You go through a little ugly before you get to the pretty,
Absolutely.
You got to be willing to go through that. And results aren't instant, as these gentlemen have already pointed out.
Yeah.
We didn't get ourselves into the types of situations we're in overnight, and we're not going to overnight just automatically. But if you stay and stick with it, you will begin to see results, and they will be some rather immediate. If you begin to eat one meal a day, I mean, obviously you'll experience a weight loss, but it's different than that. You can actually reverse the aging process through, because we actually age from the inside out. We actually age by overworking our intestinal tract and our other organs, which are designed to be able to cause a rejuvenation to naturally take place in our skin and our hair.
Is that why some people at 40 look like they're 60?
Yes.
Vice versa, 60, 40.
Right.
Yes.
But also, our taste buds.
Okay.
We're used to eating things that have a lot of additives and preservatives and makes it taste good. And if we're used to that, if our youngsters are used to that, and then they start eating things that are on the more organic side, like, we don't eat for our taste buds. We don't eat for our tongue. We eat for our body. And so understanding that aspect, that's going to be probably that thing that people have to get used to
Right.
in terms of what the things taste like. I'm used to my things
Absolutely.
tasting a certain way. I really wish that we could redefine what soul food means in our community.
Absolutely.
Teach on that.
Absolutely.
I'm with you,
Definitely
though.
need to
I'm with you with
redefine that.
Teach
Yeah.
on that.
What we eating, that is not soul food at all.
Right, right.
And until
That's a slap
we
in the
have,
face to even call it soul food.
I mean, just the way that we think about things, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I know we got the slang when, you know, when that's bad, you know what I'm saying? That could mean something good, but come on now, you know, it's a little bit deeper than that. So
Right.
when we talking about soul food, like if you're talking about some things that are not good for you, not good for your soul, we gotta redefine that.
Watch
yeah,
this.
I was
Watch-
reading. I'm sorry.
I
Go
just-
ahead.
I just want to add on to what brother was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Look
Move
at
the mic up a
look
little
at
bit.
look
There
at
you go.
what we say about. See, we think of food. It's like style. It's the same way we think of fashion. You know, you'll say, "Hey, man, that's fresh. You know, I like your flavor." You know, you know. So, but you're not looking at what's really going on with the person.
Right.
It just look good. So that appeal is just like taste. It's the exact same thing. It's not using critical thinking. So if something tastes good, most people say, "I'm gonna go get something to eat." See, something to eat and food is different. See, food has to break down either into amino acids, either into monosaccharides, or into lipids. It's for the body to use it, or
Right.
phytochemicals. You know, you get what I'm trying to say. In the
Right.
enzymes, you got to be able to. Whereas food, but some of this stuff break down into carcinogens and mucus
Oh,
forming.
boy.
It's not food.
Right.
It's literally not food. They call it food stuffs.
Right.
So the general rule, even if you had to go to the grocery store organic, you know, be on the periphery. That's a general rule. Everything in the middle is just it's processed and it's toxic. Now watch this. All the toxins in the food, they learned that in Germany. That's what Nazi science was. So when you find out that lead is a neurotoxin and mercury is a neurotoxin, or you find out asbestos causes cancer and medicine, all the insulations and all the lead, that's not a coincidence. They knew that before it happened. It's not like all of a sudden it's ironic. They say people in the projects are crazy. Yeah, they exposed to the lead paint and all the different things that they knew were toxic that they actually constructed the place with.
Right.
And many times for us, the land that some of these public housing divisions are built on is wasteland or in post-industrial land.
Right.
So they know this. None of this is coincidence.
With
That's
the
why we
cheapest
understand
materials.
eugenics. Come on, brother.
And the
Cheapest
land
material.
is cheap too.
That's
right.
You know, you build that,
Soil
you
and
get
all
that
that
land
stuff.
cheap,
Come on.
you build cheap.
Come
and
on,
then
brother.
It makes
Come on.
all the sense in the world when you see these urban areas and you like wonder why they don't care about them because they cheap
Cheap land.
material,
Yeah.
That's right.
cheap built
That's
built
Just
material.
that capitalistic mindset, though. You know,
It is.
less cost, more money.
That
to, go
democratic
ahead and spend.
mindset too.
Man,
Run the business.
wow.
I mean, you know, so is it good to eat meat because you know there's like a boom of veganness now, or you know or vegans, you know, if that's a word. But you know, I was watching some of this documentary called
What the
What
hell?
the hell?
yeah, What the Health and Food Inc.
Food Inc. Yeah.
And you know they were talking about like how certain meats could cause cancers, right? But when you read something like this, and then you know you look at you know like the Bible, like what God said, like certain meats that you can eat and you can't eat. So do you think that it's good to eat meat? And is there like a great place to buy meat if you eat it?
Let me say this. First of all, in regards to the meat eaters of the Bible, let's take Abraham. Let's keep in mind, the meat that Abraham was eating is not the meat that we are
Absolutely,
eating.
man. It wasn't processed and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, going out and instantly killing an animal and saying a prayer over it before killing it and draining the blood and then properly preparing it instantly with no refrigeration is far different than having meat that of today that is pumped with
That's a great
steroids
point.
and all kinds of other chemicals to make it fatter faster.
Right.
Not just fatter, unnaturally big, but also big faster.
That's
so
right.
you're having them grow larger, faster. And the way they do that is by pumping them with steroids and all sorts of other chemicals, and
Yeah.
we are what we eat. Then they kill these animals in slaughterhouses,
Yeah.
which speak for themselves.
Right.
And so there's murder and fear embedded in that meat.
Right.
And you're eating that. It's not killed halal or kosher where the blood is drained from it. And that is, if you read the Bible, for all those that do eat meat, you are mandated to not eat the blood. You don't eat the life force of the animal. The meat was supposed to be drained. The meat was
Wow.
supposed to be killed in a humane way.
That's right.
So if none of those, so you'll have to go get kosher or halal and hope that they are in fact following, ma'am.
Can you explain what kosher and halal?
A kosher, which is the Jewish standard for it's been killed in the aforesaid humane way that I described, and halal, pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
Where prayer has been said over the animal and the blood has been drained from the animal. There's a proper way to even kill. And
Wow.
so when it comes to something you're getting ready to ingest, especially, so I say that first. And then, of course, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you know, do not be a meat eater, be a vegetarian. So he taught us how to properly eat meat, if we were going to eat meat, how to properly prepare it. But he also encouraged us to gradually wean ourselves
Why?
away from
Why?
meat.
Why is that?
Because at the end of the day, we're not, meat is still something that our bodies process very slowly. And
We're not carnivores.
and it can produce toxicity in the body.
Yeah, we're
have a very,
herbivores.
we have a very long intestinal tract, so it takes its time making its way through our bodies. And because nowadays, you know, what is a cow when you
Right.
have all of these
Yeah.
genetically modified
right.
animals?
That's
right.
You know,
Yeah. Is there a good place to buy the? You know, if I wanted to, you know, continue to eat meat, is there a particular place that I can go?
Well, there's a couple of things I can think of. Number one, the Nation of Islam has what they call an ABLE program, where they have found they sell and distribute organic chicken and fish, certain fish, salmon and whatnot, that has been through rigorous testing. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan paid a lot of money to have the fish go through all kinds of strenuous tests to make sure that mercury was not in the salmon, etc. So
Because even the fish of the sea are not the same.
well,
these days.
because the water is
the water is contaminated with
Exactly.
oils and all kinds of crazy
there's
stuff.
A whole lot.
Speaking of the water of the ocean, I mean that is a
That's a
subject,
whole
man.
different-
That's really the subject of the genome era that you have to
Fukushima,
get into, the radiation, like this,
Yeah.
and it's just so much. Like most of the oceans right now, I think 90%. I mean, of the waters are becoming acidic. You know,
Wow.
There's a lot of experimentation. So speaking of the waters, there's a brother I know who just came back from Florida, and I told him before he went that I don't know if you all have heard of what they call the blue plague, but when that 2010 the BP oil spill took place, they showed it on the news for a few weeks. We all saw it, right?
That
It's
was
constantly
going for
showing-
days.
Thank
Oil
you.
just being pumped
there
into
we go. I
the.
think a few weeks.
Yeah.
But then you just didn't hear nothing else about it, right? And if,
Right.
and if we all of us a question right now, what happened? Okay, this scientist, I'm gonna name drop, J. Craig Venter, produced something called Cynthia, just like you spell a woman's name Cynthia, but with an S. And it's an organism that's supposed to fix nitrogen and is supposed to eat up the oil and separate it and make it where it's non-toxic. But nobody is saying that these organisms that he's using, many people in the Gulf are experiencing a lot of sickness and stuff from these organisms. These are organisms that they're used for bioremediation. That's what it's called. So if you just Google bioremediation of the Gulf spill in 2010, it'll pop right out. They called it dispersants. But it had a name to it, some name. But Cynthia is the generally recognized name, and that's the kind of experimentation we see going on in the waters of the world. I don't think Fukushima was an accident. I don't think none of these oil spills are accidents. They create the crisis. Well, right? What's that three-phase? Somebody help me out. It's basically create the crisis, then chaos, then come up with the solution. But it's an old tactic, what I mean. Yeah, right. But it's a military tactic.
Wow. I mean, it makes it so tough to eat things today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is why this program is so important, and what we're talking about with urban food farm, because if you think about it, everything is tainted now, like even more, because every year they find a new group of things, or a new group of things are approved by the FDA for you to ingest.
Right.
You know, and then it's like the life expectancy just shrinks.
Drops.
That's
Yeah, it
right.
drops.
That's right. And there's so many doctors, y'all, that we don't hear about. The dead doctors. Dr. Sebi's one, but There's many other dead doctors. Some
Yeah.
say it's up to 70 now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It
yeah,
started out
70
as
now.
about 7 and 10 and 13.
In the last
Well,
like 10 years, man.
yes, that's right, that's right. And actually, many even shorter than that. But you're
Yeah.
right in the last 10. But actually, I think 2015 or 14, it really started picking up in Florida, like Brad Street. I think he was in Carolina. But Nicholas Gonzalez and all of them are dying under suspicious circumstances. But if you look at some of the science that they're studying, there's something called GCMAF and Nagalase. These are things people can look up. Those two things, Nagalase, Nagalase. It's a certain kind of enzyme that they're finding in every virus and bacteria now. Every new virus and bacteria has a coating around it, and this is called Nagalase, Nagalase. And it's a short term for something called alpha-N-acetylgalactosaminidase. I know that look like I'm trying to show my grip on the language, but alpha-N-acetylgalactosaminidase. But to make it short, it's Nagalase, Nagalase.
Yeah.
Now, this surrounds all bacterial, cancer, and viral cells right now. If you go to some of these holistic doctors, they can test your Nagalase levels. I don't care what disease you got. If it's a chronic disease, you have high Nagalase. If you get your Nagalase down with whatever modality you use, whether it's fasting, 1 meal a day, or some of these other detox plans and other kinds of chelations and whatnot, as your Nagalase levels drop, whatever disease you have disappears. That's what these doctors was discovering.
Oh, okay.
Namely Dr. Jeff Bradstreet. So autism, Alzheimer's, all these
Right.
diseases, even ALS, they all come with something called amyloid. Nobody's talking about this. Alpha amyloid is a liquid, a slime-like substance, and a beta amyloid is a folded substance. So many of the fibro diseases that you see now, atrial fibrillation, uterine fibroids, cystic fibrosis, fibromyalgia,
Wow.
any disease that has that fibro in it, this is something that started kind of like a mucus or extra gelatinous mucus that starts to harden and turn into fibers. So cystic fibrosis, if somebody thinks they have asthma but they can't find asthma, think you got bronchitis but you can't find it, but you have your bronchial airways fibrillizing, this is what's taking place. It would be like an egg, right? Egg is yolk, but under radiation, under heat, under certain conditions, what does a yolk do? Folds. That's what boiled or fried egg. So
Right.
that's kind of the example that they use of how this transition is happening, and they found different ways, like GCMAF is a glycoprotein macrophage activating factor, but this is what's already in our immune systems. But because the Nagalase, look what it does. This is all the research bears witness to this. The Nagalase goes in, and the macrophages are considered macro, meaning big, phage, mean eat. These are the big eaters of our immune system.
Right.
Eat up the debris and stuff. But these are dormant until they're activated by vitamin D3. This is what immunology is studying right now.
Okay.
Vitamin D3, there's two or three sugar molecules on the macrophage. It attracts vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 wakes up the macrophage, puts it on its post. Well, the Nagalase goes in like a laser and knocks off the sugar molecules. So now so this is the destruction of the immune system.
Right.
And that's what Dr. Bradstreet, Nicholas Gonzalez was making known, and many of the natural doctors, that somebody, right, is designing bacterial viral cancer cells to go in and knock off the sugar molecules on our macrophages. If this is happening in everybody's immune system, this is not that. Your immune system didn't plan to do this. Somebody's doing
Right,
it. And
right.
this is
At the expense of money.
at the expense of money and population reduction.
Right.
You know, and it's not about
Wow.
just
Because
just
if everybody lived, it'd be overpopulated.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And on the same note, it just reminded me of the vaccinations, which we really should talk about. There's a movie called Vax.
Oh,
Go
wow.
see it.
That's right.
Vax, how do you spell it?
VAXS, VAXXED.
Okay,
Vaxxed.
Vaxxed.
Please watch it if you haven't already, and there are some other ones out there. But
Okay.
I only mention that because he was talking about what is happening with the cells. We know that the flu shot, for instance, causes what's called programmed death of the T cell. Now, if you know anything about the immune system, the immune system is basically, the T cell is the powerhouse of the immune system. It's
Right.
the one that goes in and search and destroy.
Right.
When you get your flu shot, there's actually something in that shot that causes what they call PD, or programmed death of your T cell.
Wow.
So in the name of building up your immune system to fight the flu, they give you this shot, and
open
it
you up.
actually weakens your immune
Right.
system by causing it tells the T cell, the fighter of the body, not to fight.
Right.
Well, you know what?
It tells it not to fight.
Wow.
And they call it like I said, PD, program.
And they require
debt.
all kids to get that when they go to before they
And
go
by
to
the
school.
way, and they can require, but they can't make you. And let's, for the parents that may not know this, you can write a letter. None of my children were vaccinated. You can write a letter and say that, you know, it is against your religious belief
Yep.
to have your children vaccinated, and that letter goes in your file. Now, I think in California, they've now outlawed the ability to write that letter, but in Indiana, you still can,
Right.
and I suggest you do so.
What
So
if your
when
kids play sports and they say your kids
You
can't
write
play
that
unless they got
letter.
that?
You write
They
that
still got to
letter.
take that letter. They can't make them stop playing if they just because of that.
It's an
No.
affidavit, and you can
It's an
actually use it
affidavit,
even for, I use it
absolutely.
for, to enroll in college. And you can use it all the way up to college, and it's actually Indiana code. And you can cite
Absolutely.
that Indiana code that basically says I'm excluded, and they'll just basically say, well, just so you know, if there's an outbreak, they can't come to school.
Yeah.
Wow.
So-
And even the hypocrisy of that, or the laughability of that, you know, while you're endangering my child, your unvaccinated child is endangering my child that's vaccinated. Well, then your vaccination apparently didn't work.
Right.
Because how can my unvaccinated child endanger your vaccinated child when you claim the vaccinations is what protects your child?
Right.
Makes no sense.
Right.
So, you know, it's just all something.
That's a good point.
What we need to do is to just think. And
Right.
part of the plot of this world is to keep us so distracted and so overwhelmed with everyday life, paycheck to paycheck living, and the stress that goes along with that.
No time to think.
That we don't have time to think. We don't have time to read
That's right.
and to ponder and to just kind of sit back and connect dots and
Right.
put pieces of puzzles together. And so this causes us to just constantly be victimized by a system that really is just outthinking us right now.
Right.
But we can change that because, you know, we just have that kind of power. But it requires
Absolutely.
us working together. It requires work. And that's why it's so important for us to work collectively with our various organizations
Right.
and to support each
Absolutely.
other. Those that are growing food, we're now starting Black Farmers Markets. And,
Awesome.
and mind you, you tear up your backyard. It doesn't have to be some grand,
Right.
you know, 5 acres of
right.
land or
Right.
10 acres. You know, just do a corner. You only have one corner.
Right.
Do that
Let's
corner.
go into.
You
let's
got a
go
balcony.
Into, yeah.
Let's do the
Let's
balcony.
go into that. How do you prep? How do you
Prep
how
the
do you
soil.
prep up the soil and prepare it to grow? You know,
Absolutely.
to grow food. Because I noticed one thing when I drive past the corn areas where they're growing food, the farms and stuff, is that the same thing is never grown in the same place twice. It's like they do it every other year or something. Because I noticed that I'm like, man, these are not as tall as they were last year. What are they growing now? So I know something's up with this farming.
Monocrops is different though, you know, because those
Yeah, 'cause they
monocrops, I
can-
mean, they doing all the chemicals, the Monsantos,
Yeah.
the
So they'll
glyphosates.
grow
you know.
pumpkins one year, then they'll grow strawberries.
Yeah.
You know, they
Oh.
grow
Well, the
different
major
stuff.
fields is
rotation.
mainly doing big fields is mainly if they're big fields where you riding a few minutes past up, you know, like on the highway. There's gonna be corn, wheat, and soy. You know, for the most part, those are monocrops because they're mainly using those for biofuel.
Got
generally
okay,
for
okay.
biofuel.
Those are not for food.
Well, no, people are eating them because they
The
don't they're gonna sell it to
byproducts,
you.
corn, you
but-
know,
but
high
they-
fructose corn syrup. which
Exactly,
okay.
but the
and
purpose
everything.
of it is supposed to be for fuel. That they
Okay.
grown for fuel.
Yeah, but they, and like
I'm
he
learning a
mentioned,
lot right now.
Monsanto, and those that don't know the whole Roundup, and, you know, I have bees on my, in my urban garden, and we have a alleyway behind, and we were trying to de-weed it.
Yeah.
And my son sprayed some weed killer out in the alleyway, and I had the death of about 100 of my bees the next day because
Oh,
they
man.
forage in
That's
that
right.
alleyway.
Oh.
And I had on my sidewalk all these bees. So you don't spray that stuff. You can't use it. You know, you have to. There are some organic weed killing sprays and things like that, and you just have to do your research. And
Right.
it's important. We raise bees not for the honey, but for pollination.
You
Right.
raise bees?
We don't really raise them; they raise themselves. Frankly, I mean,
Yeah.
we just kind of sit back and watch. You know? I
Right,
mean, I'm
right.
just being
They like a
honest. They do
birdhouse,
the
ain't
work.
they?
You know?
And they just want to do their job. They're not
Exactly.
harmful.
You leave them alone. They don't bother you if you don't bother them.
Right.
I mean, we just provide a house for them, to be honest,
Right.
and just make sure that they have water. But they help us. They're a benefit to us because they pollinate all of
right.
Right.
the vegetation and the fruit trees.
Mm-hmm.
But all of this is important. We have to stop being so ignorant. We had a girl come to the garden not too long ago, and she wondered if our summer squash were bananas.
Wow.
We are that disconnected
my.
from the earth.
And see, one thing, sis, I'm sorry,
No,
Sister
you
Viv,
go for
but I
it.
just want to just add on is that this thing called glyphosate, you can look it up. There's something called bee colony collapse disorder. So right now, there's millions and millions and billions probably of bees that they're finding dead, just whole colonies dead.
Yeah.
Well, there's a doctor who's called Don Huber. He's a white guy. He's a professor emeritus from Purdue.
Okay.
So peer-reviewed guy.
There you go.
And he's talking about glyphosate serve as a biocide, so it destroys your biome. So he said in the guts of the bees, they saw food was present, but also was this glyphosate, which is a chelator, so it binds even the minerals, the metals that we need, not the leads and the mercuries and stuff. It leave them intact, but it binds the minerals that we need. You know, so your zincs and your irons and so on and
Right.
so on.
Right.
And it's also a biocide, so like a what are they, antibiotic.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening with the soil is the same thing that's happening in our guts.
Soil.
See, when you grow a garden, you're not growing out of dirt. Soil is living. You know, just like our gut ain't just a bag we throw stuff in. You know, if your gut don't have the probiotics, the enzymes, the environment
Right,
that can
right.
take and produce the food, what they're saying show the significance. What they're saying now with schizophrenia and many of the brain, the
lack of
behavioral,
zinc.
thank you, sis, lack of zinc, but it's also a lack of the good bacteria that produce certain serotonin, melatonin, vitamin K, certain nutrients that our bodies don't produce.
Connected, and
right.
you know, and when they tell you that you don't need your spleen, or that you're not
Come
your
on.
spleen, but your
Appendix and whatnot.
appendix and your what's the other one they take out? The gallbladder, all the time. Which, by the way, is probably the appendicitis or appendectomies, I should say, and the removal of the gallbladder are two of some of the most common surgeries that happen in the United States, and both of them are completely, in most instances, unnecessary. And they tell you don't need these organs. Well, you very much need these organs, and both of
Or they
these
wouldn't be
organs, yes, are related to and facilitate the digestive system.
Right.
And the appendix provides some of that good bacteria
Right.
to the digestive tract. So we are impacted when they go and remove these things. There are
right.
ways that you can heal your gallbladder. There's a way you can remove gallstones naturally. And so I just urge everyone, because we're not here to try to give you all the answers, but I just urge everyone to do the research. It's
Right.
out there, and stop letting these doctors cut on you
That's right.
Right.
sis.
arbitrarily.
Right.
I'm not saying that all doctors are bad, nor am I saying that there aren't some surgeries that might be necessary. What I am saying is that we need to look into alternatives and not just blindly believe everything that these doctors are telling us.
Right.
And back to the soil, you know, and I think my fellow grower can help to explain the importance of the soil. It's everything. It really is, because if the nutrients aren't in the soil, they're not going to be in the vegetables. It's just that
That's
simple. The
right.
vegetables draw the nutrients from the soil.
That's
Right.
If the soil is nutrient deficient, then the vegetables will be nutrient deficient. So our goal is not just to grow organically. Our goal is to have food that is nutrient rich.
Right. Right.
And so that is food not that just looks good. Because see, in the stores, you'll see these big peppers and you smell them, there's not even a
That's
smell
right.
to
That's
them.
right. That's right.
And if you
That's
grab
right,
one
sis.
of the peppers from one of the farms,
Yes,
I
it
mean,
reeks.
I,
Yes, it reeks.
you
That's
can
right.
stand back and you're like, oh yeah, that's what
right.
a pepper smells
Yep,
like. I
that's right.
forgot.
That's right.
You know, and they're very different. And the ones in the store are not only are they GMO, and let me kind of give you an idea of what that means. So they found that there was a gene in the firefly
Okay.
that they could take out of the firefly and insert into the tomato, and it would help to ward off a bug that attacks the tomato. So this is what it means to have a genetically modified vegetable or fruit. They're inserting the genes of other things into the
To
tomato,
keep those other
into
things
the
away.
yes.
Right.
Wow.
And they, with all kinds of unintended consequences that they can't even do the math on.
Right.
Because they think they're playing chess, and frankly, you know, they are 10 moves behind their own moves
Right.
because they don't know.
Right.
They're playing with things that they don't
I'm
know.
done eating. Hey, listen, I'm not gonna eat anymore.
But that's
Grow
I'm not
your
gonna
own
eat
food.
anymore.
But that's the dependence part of it. You can't, you know,
Yeah,
you can't
we
stop
all-
drinking water. You can't stop eating. You know what I mean? And so just like with the water and the soil, you know, it's all connected. You know, with the sun. You know, if we mess around and mess up our ozone and all that with the sun and how the sun is coming down and it starts being radiation, then you know what I'm saying, we're gonna have problems then. But the soil is so important because that's the house, that's the foundation.
It is, and
You know?
and see me.
Right.
I mean, I know that I can eat one time a day, but it's the like discipline of what I'm eating. And see, if I could eat, I mean, if I could eat one time a day, like, and during that time, what I'm drinking and eating is just super duper healthy, I'll be fine. But man, that discipline comes in.
Can we?
It's pleasure, but it's more or less for pleasure. It ain't not so much hunger. It's
It
the
is.
it feels good. You know, something
Right.
tastes sweet
Yeah.
or chips are fun. They're crunchy. So you got to get it's more like
And-
being mature. when
And
you
the
look at it.
body actually needs fat, sugar, and salt.
That's right.
You have to have fat, sugar,
The
and salt.
correct-
The right,
to-
yeah, the
It's
right.
just
That's
the
right. That's
right.
right.
It's just the
That's right.
source
Yep.
of it.
Yep.
So
Right.
when your body's craving sugar, we have to retrain ourselves to grab the apple instead of the cupcake. We
That's
have
right.
to retrain ourselves,
right, sis.
you know. And so because these are natural cravings, the body has to have fat.
Right.
It's just
That's
where
right.
it comes from.
What kind of fat?
And so that's the key is
Right.
what kind of fat.
Right.
You know, like your what's the one?
I like coconut oil, avocado oil.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
olive
avocado.
oil.
Yeah,
Those,
yeah. Or oh, I'm thinking of the fish oil. Omega.
Omega 369.
Yeah,
About
yes,
grapeseed oil.
I like grape.
Yes, and you know there are so many ways, just like protein, and the big lie that you've got to get your protein from meat. First of all, there's more protein, 5 times more protein in a tablespoon of bee pollen than in a steak. I mean,
Wow.
and bee pollen they call bee pollen the world's perfect food. If you don't know about it, it's
I've never heard of
That's
bee
right.
pollen.
I
Hey,
gotta
look
look
that up,
Right.
please.
Right.
It has
I've never
every,
heard it.
It has every vitamin, every amino acid, every enzyme, and every mineral that your body needs to survive.
Where can we get bee pollen? I mean, do they
George-
sell it?
I get mine at Georgetown Market, but not that I'm plugging Georgetown Market, please believe, but
Shout out to Georgetown Market for
yeah.
selling bee pollen.
but they're not the only ones. But Good Earth sells it,
pollen.
Fresh Time sells it.
What?
And keep this in mind. Now, when you first taste bee pollen, you'll probably think it's one of the nastiest things you've ever eaten. But that's because, again, as he mentioned and talked about taste buds,
Not eating for your tongue.
not eating for your tongue.
You're eating
Now,
for-
my
you're
grandson,
eating to
on
live.
the other hand, who we've fed bee pollen to since he was 2,
He loves it.
he loves it. He thinks it's candy.
So
Right. That's right.
So that right there has 5 times more
A
protein.
tablespoon.
I mean, so
And
I
that's
can say
because
one.
it's loaded with its amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins,
right.
and
Right.
so it has every vitamin.
And it's
so you
instant
need vitamin
bioavailability,
B,
you know?
exactly. And explain that instant
Yeah.
I'll
Hey
just
man,
let
I'm
you
buying
deal
some
with
of that
that.
tonight.
Well, bioavailability, it just means that when you ingest something, how fast and how much of it you actually can use. You know what I mean? So if you're eating meats and stuff or toxins and this, that, and the other, by the time you actually get out of the protein or whatever that you get out of it that you actually can uptake and your body can use, it'll be way less. So even on paper it may say whatever, but by the time you break it down, what your body can actually use. You know, there's a reason why on certain things you take only so much because you can only absorb so much at a certain amount of time.
Right.
And that's why
Right.
most pills have such a high IU, 1,000 IUs and whatnot, because it's 90% of it's coming out on the
That's
other
right.
end.
That's
Ah,
exactly
okay.
Only
right.
because it's really not a food. Food, whole foods are really what your body is designed to eat. Excuse me. So that's why bee pollen is so effective because you get those vitamins and minerals and nutrients right away.
right.
When I say you get, just as Steve explained, your body is able to take it in, process it, and disperse it very quickly
right.
and
Right.
use all of it.
That's right.
Whereas in pills and in meat, by the time your body finishes processing the meat and dealing with all the negative things that the meat is, what good the meat provided, protein, is out the window.
That's right. Cost benefit analysis. Yeah.
Exactly. On the other hand, broccoli, which is loaded with protein, the body can take it in and easily digest it, especially if it's steamed, lightly steamed. And this is another thing, not a hit on raw foodies or anything like that, but when you lightly steam your vegetables, even though raw, they have more nutrients in them.
Right.
It goes back to bioavailability. When you lightly steam them, it's easier for your body to access those vitamins. And so your body ends up getting more of the nutrients that are in it
Right.
when it's lightly steamed than it does if it's raw.
Wow.
So
My goodness.
so there's just all kinds of layers to this, and there's so much information out there that you can feel overwhelmed. This is why I suggested people start incrementally.
Right. Right.
Don't just go hog wild because you'll not stick to it anyway.
Right.
Try starting with eating more fresh vegetables and fruits instead of frozen or canned. Get all the cans away and start with the frozen and fresh, and then wean off of the frozen and start eating
That's
more
right.
of your fresh.
That's right.
There are
Right.
incremental ways in which to alter your lifestyle.
right.
And start visiting your local growers
That's right.
that are popping up now everywhere. Or
Right.
better yet, even just as good, I tell people, grow some food.
Right.
Right,
Even if you
right.
live in an apartment, you can have some vegetables on the balcony. There are ways you could at least grow some herbs for yourself in the windowsill. I mean,
What are some of the most important things you can grow in your backyard that you could use weekly? Because I think the problem for most people is the convenience. So how do they get to the point where some of the most important things can be grown that they use like weekly? I know everybody's diet is different, but what are some of the most important things?
I don't know exactly the most important.
Okay.
What I would say is that having 4 or 5 people who grow something individually, you know what I'm saying? Sister
there
got
you go.
tomatoes, I got cucumbers, brother
Right.
got radishes, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
That's community involvement.
That's right.
That's how
Absolutely.
you do that right there.
Right.
You cut out the food desert when you
Yes.
do things like that, and the responsibility of having it all on you. So when you talk about the most important,
Right.
all of it's important, right?
Okay. Right.
You know
Right.
what I
Right.
mean?
All of it is.
So we gotta have that community mindset right there.
Okay.
You know?
That's awesome.
That's how we do on my block alone on Sherman. I've got a guy named Tony that lives in the 3500 block that has a nice little garden. He grows certain things I don't grow. So I'm like, Tony, what are you growing? And I don't grow that because I know Tony's growing it. And I
Right.
tell people, hey,
Well,
you
he's
have
probably
this,
good at
and-
growing it.
And he is. And I'm
Yeah.
like, go down and see Tony because he's got it. You
Right,
know,
right.
the guy on the other side of me started a garden. He's got lemongrass and some other herbs that I don't have.
Right.
So it's just about working collectively.
Co-op, cooperative, that's
Is
right.
there a
Co-op
a
operations.
collective list of people doing this?
It should be.
That's
I mean,
right.
like somebody really need to like.
I would put it like this. I'm pretty sure that
starting.
the state
Started
of
right now,
Indiana
yeah.
has a collective list of people who are doing these things because
Okay.
they want to make sure that they have control over who's doing it and what. Now, community-wise, you know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, if we want to keep it word of mouth, I'm not opposed to that, but we definitely need to get the information out
Right.
as much as possible. You know, that's one of the things about Red Beans and Greens,
Yes.
our food co-op.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yes.
So came out. We're housed at the Flanner House. Flanner House has their own garden, so
Right.
you know what I'm saying. They got Flanner Farms right there. So
Right.
I say we since I started today, right?
Yeah, there
So
you
you know
go.
what I'm saying. We got our
There you
own
go.
farm right there. You know, so we got the we can do a farmer's market, but there's only certain vegetables that we grow right there. And so
Okay.
Red Beans and Greens, some of our stuff comes from Mississippi.
Right.
Okay.
And so people gave us a little flat because we're not locally grown.
Okay.
But if you know about Mississippi, they winters in December and ends in December. I mean, really February. I went to school down there, you know what I'm saying, for high school, so I understand the wintertime. And so you can grow year round basically down there, where here we have our winter, you know, winter about to start
It's
here in a
over.
minute. You know, winter's
Yeah.
coming, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when it comes to understanding what you grow and how you grow it and things like that, you know, we use a bucket system. We make sure that we have a controlled way of growing our food. And what we want to bring to the table is making sure that we understand who grows what. So sisters grow some things, and so bam, we're going to ask her for some food for the co-op, which she does donate, you know what I'm saying, and bring food to the food co-op and things like that. And so we're asking all people to come through so we can do that locally. But then when the wintertime comes and we understand that there's going to be gaps in terms of what we grow,
Right.
we got something down the street. I mean, yeah, it's
Right.
about 9 hours away, but you know what I'm saying? It's something that we can definitely use in
Right.
terms of the environment and bring
Someone
up there.
is
No, that's
putting
great.
together a place where you can keep all this stuff over the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, this is the thing. Indiana has, for the most part, a short growing season. There
Oh,
are
okay.
some season extension practices that most of us are trying to get involved in. But at the end
Okay.
of the day, you can't grow tomatoes in in November.
Right, right. Can you do
there
it
are
in a
some-
greenhouse though?
I was going to say there are
Okay.
some ways that we
Indoor
are changing
growing.
there. There's
There's some people doing
hydroponics,
that,
and that's all starting, and it's becoming more and more a practice. But right now, we still rely on food from the south in off season in order to get produce. Now there are some exceptions to that. You can grow peas and garlic and onions and
radishes
spinach.
and
We're getting
yeah,
ready to
green
put in
leafy
Underneath
a
the
crop
ground.
of
Yeah.
radish
Right.
and a
Right.
crop of beets and those things, because why? They grow quickly. You can put those
Right.
in now. You can harvest in October, and they can stand the cold. Same thing with spinach, lettuce,
That,
peas.
that goes back to the
broccoli,
soil.
cauliflower.
So, yeah, you got to make
Wow.
sure that your soil is good. You should
Yeah.
get your soil tested and things like that to make
Abso-
sure that it's not
uh,
contaminated.
yeah.
Because if you grow on these things and the main thing, the radishes are under the ground, that soil is going to be even more important.
Right.
Because that's
Absolutely.
where the nutrients is coming from. That's where, you know,
Right.
usually the roots are there and then it grows up. But you got it underneath the ground. It's getting everything that
Right.
ground has. So it's
Right.
going to absorb all those things. And when you eat it, you're going to absorb all those things.
Right.
And Indiana
Right.
does provide free lead testings. You call them and they'll come out and test your soil for lead.
Okay.
And there are labs that you can send samples of your soil to.
For
I
free?
use no, they're
Oh,
not
you got to
free.
pay for that.
right.
AL,
Of course.
AL Lakes, Great Lakes, and they're in Fort Wayne. That's who I've used, and to test our soil. They'll not only tell you what's in it, they'll tell you what's not in it. So if it's nutrient deficient, like if you don't have enough nitrogen, they'll tell you, you're low on nitrogen, you need to add something,
Right.
this or this to build up your nitrogen. So
Right.
those tests help, when I first started, it was all willy-nilly, just throw something in the ground, just waiting. I was just thrilled to see
right.
something grow.
Right. Right.
And then as time
Right.
goes on, you get more and more, oh, okay,
Right,
there's a
right.
little bit more science to this.
Right,
But
right.
it's not hard. I would tell anybody, I do tell everybody, I'm not a farmer by trade. I went to Purdue, I didn't study farming. So you can learn. Anybody can learn.
Right.
I think it's frankly in our DNA.
Right.
And I encourage everyone, people say you're not a green thumb, neither am I, but you can learn and you can do this and you should,
Right.
because we really, really need it. And if you don't want to tackle your own, come help one of the local
That's right.
growers,
That's
because
right.
when I tell you we are always in need of help.
Constantly.
I mean, I think Flanner grew I know they told me they had planted 800 tomato plants, and I'm like, good God,
Right.
who's pulling
Right.
all
Wow.
those
Right,
suckers?
Right.
Wow.
And if you want to help, come holler at the Flanner
I'm
House.
sorry.
The name's
Right.
Sabaco,
Yeah.
so we
We
got
definitely gonna do that.
But-
We're gonna
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
one of the things that Sister
Sorry.
touched on was, in our DNA, what was the transatlantic slave trade all about? Why did they bring us over here? We didn't come over here, you know what I'm saying, for nothing. They needed those crops, and they needed that knowledge that we had in terms of growing and things like that. And once that period ended and we were trying to get into this American system, we were still the growers, and we were still those who were doing the crops and things. A white gentleman in Mississippi talked to my father, and he said, I don't understand you. I don't understand your people. He's like, what you talking about, man? He thought he was about to really get into it. He said, y'all traded one slave atmosphere for another. Y'all got out of slavery, and then we was in the fields. But then we gradually started selling our land, and we gradually started stop our farmings, and 3-4 generation of farmers turned into lawyers and doctors and things like that. And that's good, but we lost our land and we lost our way. to the point where now we are very dependent on what's
Yes.
going on out here. And I'm gonna use
Right.
dependent. I'm gonna say dependent probably 15 more times before we get up out of here, because that's exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the grocery stores came up and the mom and pop stores lost their way,
Yeah.
and so now we're just gonna trust that Marsh and Kroger and these stores have the things that we need. But in turn, like, do we know where it's coming from? The mom and pop stores, they knew where their things were coming from. So that's why it's good to buy organic, but it's also good to buy local, because you know, if you have allergies and you do raw honey that's local, you know what I'm saying, that can help you out. So the
Right.
foods that's grown here in Indiana can definitely help you out when it comes to things that are going on in Indiana. When you're talking about the air, when you're talking about
That's
the
right.
water and things like that,
Right.
that's how you heal yourself. Food is medicine, you know.
Right.
And once
Yeah.
we start thinking about that
medicine
and
be
get
your
back to
food.
the earth,
Right.
I mean, I don't understand, like, when we're doing our gardenings and things like that, it would be a crime for you to do that and not teach your children how that is. You know,
Right.
why are we not learning these things in school? Because they want us to stay dependent on these things. They want us
Right.
to learn certain things so that we have to stay dependent. And so we have to instruct our own children in terms of what's right and what's wrong. We have to do our own thing. So if it goes to the Walking Dead type of situation where, oh, this stuff is not here anymore, we gonna be asked out, and everybody's gonna
right.
be dependent on
right.
whatever's there. You know,
Right.
you're gonna
And I
go to
believe
the
it's more
grocery
when it
store and
gets to
get
that,
all
you
these
know.
canned foods and things like that. Sister just explained about the canned foods. You know what I'm saying? When
Right.
you know you got the ability to grow. The earth is not the earth gone. We gone.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be here. So as long as we here, as long as the earth is here, we're gonna be able to grow these types of food.
Right.
But
You know what's
it's
a,
priority. Just have them the right priority.
You know what's amazing is like we see all these movies like I Am Legend and all these different movies where people have somehow dispersed and the cities are still there, and the one thing that continues to grow is the green. It just and it shows you that the earth, regardless of if we're here or not, is going to reset and refresh itself no matter who's here or who's not. I think we're the ones that's killing it.
Oh,
But-
there's no
Absolutely.
doubt about that.
Yeah, but in regards to like farming and like growing your own, what's good soil? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is good soil?
That's a good question. As Steve mentioned before, that soil is alive and full of worms, full of
That's
all
right.
kinds of small microorganisms.
That's right.
All those things are beneficial to
Absolutely.
crops.
Yes.
In particular, if I can add in just this, I want to just say that worm castings. See, that's what people think of. But if you have red worms, nice, good, healthy worms in your soil, they're aerating for one, so they're moving around, keeping it,
Okay.
settling down where it can drain and
Okay.
breathe and whatnot. And then also the excrement. Worm
gold.
castings are the gold. It's gold.
Gold.
Black gold. Worm castings are called black gold because see, unlike the cow and horse manure, chicken manure, all that stuff has to settle. The acids come out of it. It's got to compost down. Where worm
Right.
castings is ready off top.
Ready.
I mean, they drop
Wow.
them, they're ready.
That's their
So-
purpose.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Wow.
There's a whole business
Collective
of
worms.
just creating
It's
raising
a business
worms.
that
Worms, yeah.
that
Of
gets
raising worms
Most
for the
definitely.
worm
It's
cat.
called
Worm castings I buy.
Vermicompost.
I just
Vermicompost is what it is.
vermicompost.
so worm poop is gold.
I
Yeah.
just ordered $150 worth of worm poop
Yeah.
for my fall garden. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just and
It's
from a
just-
man that just does nothing but raise worms, and it's the easiest thing in the world. I'm not doing it because I've got too many other irons in the fire.
For
But
sure.
shout out to anybody that
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
healthy soil. If you don't have the
Absolutely.
earthworms, the microorganisms,
Yeah.
where it's really living, then you got dirt, and I don't care how
Ah,
good. 'Cause,
wow.
this watch this. The West pushed genetics, and Russia was pushing epigenetics. Back in the
Okay.
30s, there's a Russian guy named Lysenko, and he was saying that he could literally take the same seeds and produce totally different results in the crops by the conditions. Now, see why America and Europe rejected that, because racism said that we are the stuff because of how we raised, not all the classes you went to, not all the money and all the financing that goes into developing the mind of a young white child that makes him exceptional to a black child. They wanted to make it look like it was strictly a genetic DNA thing that they were superior,
Gotcha.
but it was the conditions and how they were
Ah,
groomed. So
right,
that right there in
right.
and of itself
What is that, trading
disproved.
places?
Come on, sis. But it's trading places. There we go. It disproved that the myth that the seed itself is important. The seed is important, like the man. That's the male. It's the same thing. The male, female, like which one's important? No, it's both.
Right.
The seed is important,
Right.
but the earth that carries the seed is
Right.
just as, if not more. But you don't get into a competition. You don't say, "Give me a trash seed and I'll give you some good soil." No food does that. Or do you take a good seed to bad soil? You have to have both.
Right,
you combine.
right, absolutely.
You combine both. The good seed, good soil.
Wow.
And I want to ask for people that want to start a garden in their home that may use pesticides and things like that. Do they have to wait a certain period of time to let that soil, I don't know if it maybe neutralizes over time
Takes
before
a
somebody
while,
just
right?
goes in their backyard when they've been spraying weed killer for dandelions and put some stuff in there and then they waste it.
There is something, he mentioned remediation, soil, there is soil remediation,
Okay.
things that you can do to the soil. Sunflowers, for instance, detoxify the soil. So do worms. One of the other benefits of worms is that they actually help to detox the soil.
That's right.
So there are things that can be done to the soil. You can broadcast a field of sunflowers for a year, let them take up the toxins, and then have it tested. And then, of course,
Raised beds, too,
I
you
was
can
going to
do.
say, that's exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
The real
But if you're spraying
benefit, the
it, though,
real
won't
quick.
it get on the raised beds too? Because I
Well,
was
you
wondering
shouldn't be
about that
spraying
with
it
my
at the
mind.
same time.
Well, I'm saying like if you still want to spray your lawn for the weed killer,
You
but
just
still
shouldn't,
do
man.
the raised bed, so just do away with the.
Oh,
because-
no,
No,
don't.
just have your
Yeah,
dandelions. You
stop.
can eat them. You eat your
It's
dandelions.
connected, you know. It's
Don't
just-
do it.
I'm
That's
just
right.
saying before somebody's like, oh, I
That's
can
I'm
put
like,
raised
nope.
beds and still spray my
Nope.
lawn.
Nope.
and
Just-
okay.
Yeah, no.
Just
I
because
tell
So
you.
raised beds are a quick fix,
Yeah.
and they are very efficient. The benefit of raised beds is that you don't have to do the labor of digging up the soil. You
Right.
don't have to worry as much about the soil itself, because you can tailor make your soil, and you can tailor make it per crop.
That's
You
right.
know,
Yep.
some crops need a little bit more of a higher pH than others. Some, blueberries have to have high acidity. Soil has pH is like 5.8, but tomatoes are 6.8, and on and
Wow.
on. So you can tailor make the soil when you have raised beds, and this one is a little bit more acidic. This is a little bit more alkaline, and so that's a benefit of raised beds. Raised beds is just a growing your garden in a box. It's basically just for those that may not know. That's all it really is. But it allows for you to add soil to the box and bypass all of the worry about what's in the ground.
Wow, wow. I'll tell y'all a quick story. When I first got my house, I was an eradicator of dandelions. Let me tell you. This is what I did. I went to
Spray all
You want
Lowe's.
that look. You want that look.
I went to Lowe's.
Got that Roundup.
I got that Roundup.
Everybody
This is when I
does.
didn't know that it kills all grass. But I
Everything.
went through the grass like,
Yeah.
And the
I'm getting all
Kwame,
y'all.
that Kwame grass.
yeah. I got up in the morning.
Poke
It
it
was
out.
a zebra. Zebra grass. It was orange and green, and I killed the grass.
And
No,
you
think about
probably
this.
killed a few bees too.
I did. I
Now watch
probably
this. This is
did.
the crazy thing to think about. If you killed the grass, then the question should be, what are they doing to the crops that can tolerate that?
Right.
Not just
Wow.
tolerate it, but
Right.
they can't put
That's a
enough
good-
of it. It just takes
Wow.
it in. Does it disappear?
Wow.
Or is it in the stuff, that you
Right.
eat? And then the
Absolutely.
same people who say it's healthy, you won't find them at them stores. They'll be the main proponents of it because they want to put
Right.
it
There you
into
go.
the shelter, feed it to us.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean? But they
absolutely.
won't eat it themselves,
Wow.
Like you won't die instantly from it.
That's
what I mean,
right.
Type of thing. So,
That's right.
And see, and that's the crazy part is because the FDA they have to know this. All this data. It's like if a person can last 30 years, it's okay.
Right.
That person lived for 30 years,
Right.
so it ain't gonna be nothing worth what they can eat
It's
that.
called an acute toxicity test. They do a test. I think it's 30 days.
Why is that
Maybe
acceptable?
two. Hey, well, because we don't
Because
know. Most of the time we don't
there's a
know. And
system
then-
Just
meant to
like
get rid of
well,
us.
It's a
Who
system, right? You have to
checks up
understand
on
that
Yeah,
they
there's a
tell you
system
there's a
meant to get rid
certain
of
amount
us.
of acceptable lead in your water. There's no acceptable
That's right.
amount of
Yeah.
lead.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no amount that is acceptable, and they've known that lead is toxic. NPR did a great special. You can look it up on months ago around the Flint issue, but they did the history, and I did my own research after that. They've known that lead was toxic since the late 1800s.
That's right. That's right.
And the lead industry pushed and pushed and pushed, and they came out with lead paint, and they did all of these commercials and paid off who they need to pay
That's
off
right. That's right,
to
sis.
say how great lead paint was and how bright it made your paint, etc. And everything was covered with lead paint, even though they knew
That's right.
since the late 1800s that lead was toxic.
That's right, sis.
And then basically, as time went on, and then the same thing with the pipes. They convinced all the cities to use lead for all their pipes, and they knew
Right.
that it was toxic. And so, we have to understand that there's as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we're dealing with the commercializing people who are really concerned at the end of the day about that dollar. And who gets killed in the process or how it harms us,
It's not their
they
problem.
don't care.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when they
Yeah.
really began to figure out how toxic it was, they said they really didn't care because that's where the blacks and the lower class people live.
That's right. And you know what's this?
And-
If I just want to add this real quick, y'all. It's not so much that they don't care. That would be like neglect. That would be almost like they didn't check and they didn't make
Well,
sure. No, I'm,
yeah, it's
I'm
a
not even different with you.
design.
sis.
No,
There we
I
go.
agree.
But just to say that this is like what it is, you know. And so when we looked at eugenics and look at all the history and you look at all the different streams, well, that was in the late 1800s when that was even established. So
Right.
when you see that we're affected by these various toxins and chemicals and various processes, then why are we acting like you know what I mean, like maybe it's speculative as to how this connection is here when
Right.
it's already seen. So I'm gonna drop this just for the viewers or any naysayers that think this is some kind of conspiracy. Henry Kissinger in 1974 established NSSM 200, National Security Strategic Memorandum, and what it dealt with was the third world populations that we were using for bread baskets, outsourcing. So when we start sending jobs overseas and using nations for
Right.
bread baskets, that means we need all y'all stuff and we need cheap labor. He says this is in NSSM 200. It was classified until 1989, but this is a document anybody can look up. He said that as these populations grow in the third world, they're going to have a demanding need for their own stuff.
Wow.
And as their populations get bigger and bigger, it's going to be harder for us to continue to extract at greater numbers. So it's important to us, imperative to us that we keep their numbers low, combining our efforts through agriculture, military, environmental. And this is
Absolutely.
all in NSSM 200. You got me on the first paragraph, it's right there.
Wow.
And it's mind-blowing that it was classified but declassified after 15 years. So when people talk about conspiracy theories, I never know what the hell they're talking about because most of the time it's true. Most of the time.
No, and see,
Wow.
We just don't we don't read.
That's right.
yeah,
Right.
and see, and that's a question that I was going to ask, a gray area question. Do you think with everything that is going on that is more of an attack on controlling the population or more of an attack on our people?
Well, those are the same thing. Those are the exact same thing. Because they don't, see, remember, eugenics is about perpetuating the Nordic. Now, white trash, they don't care about either. I mean, we know the history there. White trash is like a grade up above the Negro. But the population myth, you had said something, Ray. I wanted to comment on it maybe 10, 15 minutes ago. But you finished one of our points that we made with about keeping the population or its overpopulation.
Yeah.
See, that's a myth. That why is it that every city has a population? But the moment you get 5, 10 miles outside of the city, I mean, it's just vast land till you get to another city, and then
Right.
vast land till you get to, and that's everywhere. There's no place that everything's all populated, and the
Right.
third world don't have a carbon footprint. So don't tell me about depopulating the third world when they don't have cars and industrial smokestack. They have a
Right.
zero
Right.
carbon footprint.
Right.
So see, all of this like saving the world is just like bringing civilization to the Native Americans, bringing democracy to the Middle East. Right? That's what we're talking about. It's
Right.
essentially the same thing. So to say that they're doing this to keep the population down or to feed the people,
Right.
like if we continue to accept that lie, when you can clearly see the collusion between many of these USDAs and FDAs and so-called oversight commissions and big business. And you see the musical chairs from somebody who was, say, a CEO of Monsanto, but then the head of the FDA, then back over to Nabisco and back to the USDA. Come on, man. This is not like a
Right.
coincidence. You know what I mean? That attack on our
Right.
health is what it is.
Somebody-
it
It's
is.
really the fulfilling of prophecy. I'm just going to throw it in there that you
For sure.
can take it or let it alone.
Right,
But-
right,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
right. That's right.
But
sis.
come, let us deal wisely with
Yeah,
these people.
sure.
I
Lest
mean,
they
there is
multiply, that's right.
that lest they multiply and
right.
combine with our enemies. I mean, Exodus. This is about. What you have to understand is that the black gene is the dominant gene.
That's
This
right.
is not a racist statement. This is
right.
just science.
Yeah.
This is eugenics at its best.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's true. And therefore, anytime there's any sort of race mixing, then you're going to the gene will always dominate.
Dominate all the time, yeah.
Even if the person appears to be
Right.
white, the black gene is dominant.
It's dominant.
And so I say
Yeah.
all of that to say that there is a fear, and you saw that manifested to tie it into the
Right.
Charlottesville situation. There is
Yeah.
a real fear
Right.
of the darker peoples of the planet. There's a real fear in some people that they will be, and matter of fact, it's not even a fear that's based on unfounded belief. It's actually very, 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 very real scientific knowledge that in in just a short while, there was just an article not too long ago that said that the United States would be the whites would be the minority.
That's right.
And like
that-
in like 2034 or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
it's around the corner.
Yeah,
It's
around-
right
Yeah.
around the corner.
So they're
If
not
things
even as
get-
crazy as we want to
and-
make them.
and-
Honestly, they're
and just-
sadistic, but
right.
they're it's
NPR
logical.
NPR just did this was about 3 weeks ago. I'm not shouting out to NPR, I just happened to hear it, but about the fact that the birth rate for the last 10, 20 years
Has declined.
of Caucasian race has declined. And for the 10th, 20th year in a row, they have had more deaths than births. To the contrary, however, the
Us.
black population and the
Booming.
so-called Hispanic, I hate that name because that's not really who they are, but
We're the same.
right, exactly, have been just the opposite. We keep multiplying.
No weapon,
And-
no weapon form.
Exactly.
That's what
And
that
so
movie
there's a real fear. And then when they know that when we mate, that the dominant gene is the black gene. So what you have them doing at the highest levels of government are actually plotting and planning to cull the population, our populations in particular. And this is not this. Look, if you do the math, because this is
That does
not
sound-
this
Right.
is not
Yeah.
you know this.
Yeah.
There's math, and like Steve said, if you look, you read one book and it gives you these facts, and you read another book and you do the math yourself, and there's only a few conclusions you can come up with. I mean, either
Yeah.
this is people are just
Right.
really that naive and ignorant, or oops, oh, there's lead in the water. Oh,
Right.
you
Come
know,
on, sis.
or
That's
or
right I'm
there
talking
is
about. Come on.
a design
Yeah.
to destroy, a certain
limit.
race or
Right.
eliminate
It
And
is
that's-
because
that's
you,
eugenics.
race of people.
yeah, because when you think about white people, they're the only race that can literally be genetically annihilated.
Absolutely.
You know, if you think of that.
Right. That's right. And they what I mean is, like, go to the white supremacist websites. This is, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I mean, I really study white folks. Elijah Muhammad told us to study the white man. You know, he's successful. He make no excuses for his failure. He work hard in a collective manner. You do the same. So we're not studying them to become devils, but the Bible says, be as wise as a serpent, but peaceful as a dove. The serpent ain't reading no books, and the dove ain't ever brokered no kind of agreements between people, but it's saying that you have to know how your enemy thinks. That's going back into chess. That's
Right.
going back into being a coach. If
Art of
we
war.
talk about, we coach art of war. You're looking at your opposition. So the question would be, or do we not have opposition? And all the facts and the truth points to the fact that they're out to annihilate us, like Sis said. But what they're doing, people like George Soros and other ones, they're funding Black Lives Matter and funding different groups. So we got to be careful, because they're kind of throwing us a 1960s revolution, but they're on the genome era. That's I'm going back to that. See, I mean, they punish Kaepernick, but everybody's taking the knee. I mean, I just think that we're being manipulated, right? You know what I mean? But they're financing many so-called
Absolutely.
movements, but then you'll find out that it's really a lesbian movement, or it's really more LGBT, all those letters, than it is black. And you see those main sisters who's supposed to be fighting for the black cause, they turn down all the brothers, whether it's Umar or anybody
Right.
else. And these brothers ain't perfect, but at the same time, you can clearly see that they're hijacking what we expect to be the revolution.
Right.
But why do we have 70 dead doctors? I don't know 70 dead preachers or even anybody else.
Right.
Why
right.
do you have 70 dead doctors?
Right.
So
right.
it should, to me, it means that the revolution, we're going to soon find out, is in our health and in the food and whatnot.
is.
And marching and protesting while eating a hot dog. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, and it's
And that, you know what? That is.
What the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Black Lives Matter. Let me get a hot dog,
Come
brother. Let
on,
me
man.
get two
Come
hot
on,
dogs.
man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy though, man, because talking about eugenics, how, and I was just joking like about 5 years ago when I said this, but then some lady posted this on Facebook, like showing the white people getting those melanin injections. But like I said it like 5 years ago, I'm like, okay,
Have y'all
look,
seen that? The lady overseas.
melanin injections now,
That
man.
is strange.
But look at the movie Get Out, man. See, they're telling us, y'all, even the new apes.
They
The new
will.
apes, they acting like it's about apes. But that
Planet
whole,
of Apes,
that's, have you seen it?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
War
I've seen
for
it
the Planet
twice.
of-
Yeah, man. But it's obvious that they put this in our
interesting,
faces.
though.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean the melanin injections. I mean, and I was literally joking when I said that like 5 or 6 years ago. I was like, they get the butts, the breasts and everything. Watch,
But now
they're
they
gonna
getting the
start,
melanin.
and now they're doing it.
I'm sure it's nothing new. It's always been happening. But when the rhetoric of "Make America Great Again," we gotta really understand what's going on with that.
Yeah, and like it made me think about all these black people that are coming up missing.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying? So like, where are they getting this melanin from?
Organ harvesting,
Yeah.
all those types of things. So,
Wow.
Now that's blackface, ain't it?
That's
Yes, I knew
that's
that.
strange.
I was just,
Now that's her. She's getting melanin injections.
Oh wow.
among other things.
What? Yeah.
among everything.
That's right.
More
What the hell
things.
is she doing? Okay, yeah. But that movie Get Out showed all that, how they admired the bodies and all that kind of stuff. But they saw us as a threat. But I don't want to get back on Get Out because we did that so much. But I want to say nobody paid attention to the grandfather. Remember, they had him chained in the basement. And he was tied to the chair. And the grandfather, the whole movie was about the grandfather. Nobody
Right.
talking about that. He raised
Right.
Jesse Owens. He built that estate and all this resentment he had toward black people. But remember what he said when he was walking around the front of the ranch? He said that my funders or founders have worked on this problem for decades, and finally we arrived at the solution. Behold, the coagula. Nothing else was said, right? That's what he said. Go look at it again, y'all.
Yep.
The coagula.
Exactly what you
And see,
mean.
because
Yep.
studying eugenics, I'm glad you asked that. But I
Coagulation.
want to. Well, coagula means just to coagulate, to
Coagulate.
gel, to aggregate, to thicken.
Like when blood
Uh,
coagulates.
Yeah. So, but watch this. Now watch this. Watch this. There's something that amyloid we were talking about a few minutes. Dr. Sebi calls it mucus, and I understand why he calls it mucus because most of us think it as I don't know, maybe thick snot or something. I don't know, but we can comprehend that.
Right.
But when you start talking about a biofilm infection, and that's what I was showing on that slide, that in many new diseases, when people go to the hospital and get their blood cultured, and they can't get any planktonic bacteria like to grow and produce a culture, then they say you don't have anything. But what I found and what others find is when you do these more naturopath tests, like say a Nagalase test, where they actually look deeper into your blood, they're finding a biofilm. Now give me an example. If you ever went fishing or anything in a stream and you grab a rock and you got all that gelatinous material on that rock or the tadpole or whatever, that's called biofilm.
Okay.
They're finding now that the water is almost sterile in many cases, and all of the organisms are attracted around this coagulated substance. Now, in the history of human disease, as far as what I've researched, and I would stand corrected and love to stand corrected, it wasn't until recently that biofilm infections started to appear in the human body. Biofilm infections. Now, we have biofilms in our mouth. That's what the plaque is.
Okay.
And plaque is not just food that remain behind, but these are bacteria that start to build a little like housing. They start that fibril thing we were talking about. Plaque. We call it a plaque. Well, this all throughout the gastrointestinal tract is present. But what happens with leaky gut and food allergies and different things, that now what was confined to the gut now is in the bloodstream in circulation. So now these biofilms are being found in all the organs. So it's according to Dr. Sebi and according to understanding this mucus or this biofilm, it's really only one disease. It's where the biofilm is at.
Wow.
If it's in your fourth brain, it's Alzheimer's. If it's in your heart, it's one of the carditis, endocarditis, or one of the diseases like that. If it's in your pancreas, it'll be type 2 diabetes mellitus. That's what mellitus means, infection. Yeah, you see, if it's in your kidneys, renal kidney failure. If this thing is in your nervous system, it's MS or ALS.
Wow.
But it's the same kind of formation. And in my opinion, you said, what is coagula? In my opinion, I haven't studied anything to corroborate this. But I have studied a guy named William Constantin, who the white folks call him the father of biofilm. And he merged with people in genetics. And there's a 13-minute video on YouTube. If you type in William Constantin, it shows him as the father of biofilm. He's explaining how all the new diseases, even prostate cancer, there's a biofilm infection. It looks just like a tumor, but it's called biofilm. And it grows and swells, then it metastasizes and spreads and then resettles and recolonizes. But if you just type in biofilm, amyloid, or William Constantin, and he died a few months after he did this interview. Whatever, call it whatever. He was old, so maybe he just died. But he did die about 2-3 months after this interview. He's explaining how all new disease comes in the form of. Are you gonna look it up?
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
What's his
Yeah.
name?
William Constantin, Costerton, and William Constantin.
Constantin.
Yep. And watch it. And there he is. And that video about the fourth picture to the right is going to be. I mean that's the video that's taken from that video. But it's a 13-minute video, and I mean, they call him the father of biofilm. I mean, he ain't white folks ain't the father of nothing. We understand that, but I'm saying they call him that. They call him that. So he's like the authority on biofilm engineering. He led, I forget the name of the university, but he led the school of biofilm engineering.
Okay.
You know, and that's constructing these biofilms. So now watch this. This should make us think about the nagalase we talked about a little while ago. Remember that nagalase that surrounds certain viral bacterial cells? It's the same kind of thing. It's like a gelatinous protein. But yeah, that right there. If you do some research on this guy, he's admitting that all microbiology. He's admitting that all the new diseases that are forming are biofilm infections. That's why they don't culture. So now I have a cousin who works at the hospital named Manan. She works at oh God. I talked to a person. No, that's serious, man. Serious. My goodness. I talked to a person who's experienced in the field, and I asked this person about infections and what's happening in the hospital setting. And I said, are you all having the incidents of people coming in complaining of disease symptoms and pain and this, that, and the other, and you all can't find anything? She said, yeah, it's happening. I said, how often? She said, about 60% of the time. So now talk to any nurses and doctors that you all know. Some of them know it, they may talk about it, but some of them are ashamed that they don't know about it. But many hospitals, they don't even know what's wrong with you because they don't have the technology.
They didn't get to the point where they just go in the back and Google.
Thank you. They Google, but look at what this guy said.
Man, I could have did that at home.
The interview that I'm talking about, the 13-minute, 44-second interview on YouTube. What he says is this: he says that we stopped in molecular biology or in microbiology. We stopped doing cultures back in the 70s because we knew cultures can't produce because it's new types of diseases. You get me? And he says it in this video. That's what's so mind blowing when you see the video. That's the 13-minute video there. He says it that we know biofilms are causing these diseases.
So now it's just an educated guess then.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Absolutely.
then
Money.
we're curing the symptoms.
Thank you, sis. You know what I mean.
Curing the disease.
This is right.
Because our mind has just stopped at
Come on,
symptoms
come on.
because
Come on,
science has just gotten
Come on.
so evolved and
Come
this
on. That's
biochemical.
The purpose of science.
That's
is
the,
evolve.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's
And then they pair the
outlived
symptoms with a
and outsmarted
pharmaceutical.
doctors.
They pair the symptoms with a pharmaceutical. That's the only reason why they give you symptoms. Sometimes they're the same symptoms in a different order.
Right,
Sometimes they're the same
right.
symptoms in a different part of the body, but it is to pair it with a medicine. You know, that's all.
Man,
That's
those medicine,
Science
all
is
those medicines have side
outsmarted.
effects as well.
That's
It's
right.
Like you're fixing something to break
Wow.
something else.
Come on, that's right.
And if you
So
So
they
if
didn't
you
give you
go
another
to
medicine.
a holistic or naturopathic doctor, then they're basically their research and everything is based on. The difference is they're based on the science of what you're talking about.
That's right.
They're studying the science of all these things,
That's right.
genetics and all these things versus a regular doctor,
That's
MD
right.
doctor.
That's right. That's right.
It's like they're gaining two different sources of knowledge.
That's right.
One is treating the symptoms, the other one is actually getting to the core of the disease.
That's
itself.
exactly right. To undo the disease.
And we gotta
Which is
be,
why people try to try to steer you away from holistic and naturopathic.
Yeah,
and
if
we
they
got to
solve
be
it.
conscious of making sure that we understand that these medicines and things that these pharmaceutical companies are producing, they're not to cure.
No.
They're to relieve as quickly as possible.
It's not
Right.
medicine. At the end of the
Thank
day,
you.
it's not
Yes, ma'am.
medicine.
That's right.
If you know
Absolutely right.
the Native American definition of medicine
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
was inherently to cure,
That's right.
to fix.
Right.
When you listen to these commercials and the
temporary.
side effects create 10 more problems that
Right.
Right. Right.
than it was supposed to be, than the one it was supposed to be solving.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then this is not medicine.
Right.
This is quackery.
And they
Right.
need you to
This
go
is,
back
and if you look up the word pharmacopoeia, it means the root word is witchcraft. Look it
Yeah.
up.
That's right.
and
I
they,
mean, look up pharmacopoeia.
and they need you to go back and buy these things continuously. You know, you're not supposed to just buy this one pill and it's all over.
Look
They
up
want you to come
definition,
back
root
and buy
word,
it. So
root
it's a capitalistic thing too.
And then you know what?
And the reason why that's important is because back to circle back to our look up the root.
The root.
Yeah, the etymology. Yeah, you got to go to where it comes from. And I say that to go back to food. We have to understand that this is really. That's why I was looking at you earlier because it was like it just kind of hit me to say that again. That it is about
Sorcery.
yeah, sorcery. It's witchcraft. I mean,
That's right.
if you look in, I have a big, huge, unabridged and it really goes into
A form of Greek root from which we get our English words pharmacy, pharmacist, pharmaceutical,
sorcery.
pharmakia, sorcery, fundamentally has to do with drugs or medicine.
Sorcery. It's
you know what?
witchcraft. It's witchcraft. And when they say they're practicing medicine, guess what? They are. They're practicing.
Practicing witchcraft.
Yeah, you're practicing, and we're the guinea pigs.
that's
But
right.
the revolution, no revolution. We're not going to have a revolution. I don't care whether we're talking, what we're talking about, if we do not take control of our food
That's right.
and
That's
take
right.
control of our health.
Right.
It is not, healthcare doesn't start with Anthem.
That's right.
Healthcare starts with the choices that you make about the food that you put in your mouth.
Right.
It's just the-
That's where healthcare begins. Your best healthcare plan is your diet
That's right.
and eating to live.
That's right.
Right.
And we have to take ownership of
Absolutely.
our body, our health, and stop being lazy and looking for someone else to fix us.
Right.
That's
When
right.
you were the one that messed yourself up, then you have
Right.
the power. I'm not criticizing you because you gained weight, lost weight, got sick, didn't get sick. I'm saying that I'm empowering you. I'm saying
That's
that
right.
I'm not empowering you. I'm just reminding you that you already have the
That's right.
power.
Right.
Right.
If we had our problems to get in these situations, then we have the power to get out.
Right.
right.
However, the forces and the powers that be are so big.
Right.
We have to work in a collective manner
Right.
if we are going to get out of the grip of this corrupt system.
That's right.
We have to work collectively. We have to think in a collective manner. We
Right.
have to operate in a collective, cooperative manner.
That's right.
We have to stop thinking more how we've been trained to think in a very competitive manner and
That's
think
right.
in a more
That's right.
cooperative
Thank
manner.
you, sis.
Right.
You
That's
know, I
right.
tell people all the time,
That's
like,
so
why are you
important, Sister
telling
Sis.
all your ideas to this
No,
farmer or this
That's
farmer?
right.
And
Come
I'm
on,
like,
sis.
I can't
supposed
feed
to.
all
Come
these
on.
people.
That's right.
Thank you.
sis. That's right.
I got a half
That's
acre.
the way
right.
to go.
sis. And you know
I can't
what?
feed all my people.
That's
If
right,
I could
sis.
feed all my people, it would be one thing, but I can't feed
That's right.
everybody.
Absolutely.
It's going to take all of us.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And I want to say one last thing, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, I'm going to let the guys do. Famine is coming. I'm going to
Yeah.
stop there. Not because I said so, but because one that I believe really knows says
Yeah.
so. Famine is coming.
It's around the corner.
And we, if you read the tea
really
leaves,
now.
you can really see that. And as a farmer, you can really kind of feel it.
The weather
And
is changing too.
The weather, there's so many things, even the types of issues I as personally have had with my soil and whatnot. I mean, famine is coming, and we have got to start storing food, you know, and canning and getting ourselves prepared for what's coming.
Right.
And stop, you know, allowing ourselves to be distracted with a lot of matters that don't matter.
That's right. Sister Viv, if I can comment on that, sis, and I really want, you've been really teaching. That's another point you made. I hope it comes back to me. But we can just simplify our lifestyle because it's not like we can't do this. There's none of us who can't do this. Most of us, either the house we live in is either too big or too expensive, or the car is too extravagant, or you updates on your shoes. I mean, whatever we're doing things that make this difficult, right? You know, but if we would kind of get away from those things that take us away from ourselves, even the way we say, today it take 2 incomes. Well, it does because of our lifestyle. But if we would simplify, it wouldn't take 2.
Right.
Yeah.
It take 2 because you got to upgrade your ring every year. You got to upgrade your, all this relevance
matters
that
that don't
really is
matter.
more. It don't matter at all. It's more of a Eurocentric kind of thing. Now let's tie eugenics into that. Because see, eugenics is not okay. It is about killing the darker, saving the lighter. But what it deeper is, it's like the standards that we use to make decisions on how we dress, what we buy. You know,
Right.
you got a lot of rappers say everything
This
European.
decision-making
My drive
period.
European, my girl's
Yeah.
European, everything European. See, that's eugenics right there.
Right,
Why
right.
you-
Foreign.
Think about what I'm
and
talking
all
about.
that.
Foreign. You
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about, my brother. You know, that's eugenics there.
In the
Right.
movie, why we all love it so much, Get Out. I mean,
Right.
what did they actually transfer? It was the mind. It was
That's right.
it was the mind.
Right.
It was the
Right.
body stayed the same. It was a
Right.
black
Right.
guy's body, black
That's
guy,
right.
but it was a white mind.
That movie
It
was so
It was
weird.
a white mind.
It was so weird.
So relevant.
It made so much
I mean,
sense.
that sunken place is so real.
Yeah,
You know what
the
I mean?
dude running at
And-
nighttime, I was like, whoa, what
I-
is going on?
And I like to
What did
think
that
of-
mean?
I like to think of it as consciousness, though, you know, because brother was conscious that he was in that second place.
Right.
But the actions did not produce that. You know what I'm saying? His homie that he saw, you know what I'm saying, who act totally different from that. I mean, we have to understand that from birth, some of us are like that.
Right.
And coming out of that right there, from what you're used to from birth, is going to sound weird. It's going to sound alien, you know?
Right.
From somebody who's probably been talking about these things since birth, and then they come up and, like, it's obvious, you know? Yes, I grow my own food. Why not? McDonald's for what?
Right.
You know, that's not nothing that I want to put into my body, because my family does their own thing. Whereas somebody else, the first thing they say when they're hungry is, I'm about to go get something to eat.
Right.
You know, let it be 2:00 in the morning and you hungry. You know, the only thing that's open is gas stations and fast food restaurants.
Right.
You know, so it's one of those things where if you're in that second place, you know, you're gonna have that flash, that bright light, ding idea. You know what I'm saying? Those things that's gonna go ahead and bring you out of it. But you have to continuously do it, because what happened,
All of us.
the lady hypnotized him again, and he got back into the second place, right? And so that's what's happening. You know what I'm saying? The TV and the YouTube and the things that we're seeing, and all these things that are being programmed in our psyche right now, is keeping us in the second place, especially since we don't know. A lot of us don't know that we're in there. You know what I'm saying?
But, you know, if I can add to you, beloved, because you're right on it. I think that for us, the conscious community, we have to change that, man, and start thinking like the conscience community. Because conscious, it just means you're aware, but conscience means now it's a burden on you to do something about what you're aware of. You know, it's like when you wake up. You know, you can wake up. Okay, I'm awake. Yeah, but what are you about? What is the agenda? What's your purpose? So that's more than just being conscious.
Take action.
Because now this consciousness, it's not even conscious no more. It's, you know what conscious means? Yeah, I'm hip to that, dog. Chemtrails, yeah, I'm hip to that.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what
I know.
consciousness is now.
I know.
Yeah,
That's all
not
that. I
even-
know.
Yeah.
But then they're not taking any action.
Yeah, so
how do you know
Come on,
if you're not
bruh.
taking action?
Thank you. So you have to have a conscience, which is
Right.
really the God within,
Right.
that compels you to change and to produce change and to fight and be willing to die. And that's the thing about the subjects we're talking about, y'all. We're not just having a conversation. That's why I love what you all do here, because this is
We appreciate
like
that.
brother said,
man.
it's warfare. This is not.
Thank
We're
you.
not just having a good time. So anybody who wants to be the king of a certain kind of subject, you're silly. What you should be, like sister said, you should be wanting to produce as many gardeners and many healers.
Absolutely.
So we have an army of healers. You can't take out a
I just
seven.
had
You
a
can't take out one.
I just had
We
a
have
conversation.
millions like this.
I just had a conversation with somebody earlier about that. It's like, you know, we will give anybody the formula to do this.
Thank you.
This is not just for us.
That's how it's supposed to be, my brother. That's
It
how
makes
it's
no
supposed to be.
sense to hoard this information.
And then they take y'all out, and then now,
Hey,
no.
you're welcome to come visit.
Yep.
Too many people
I
are
will
just-
show you.
But that-
Go out there and do your own thing. We
Yeah.
need more of these.
That shows that, you know,
People too-
naturally we're not geared to have that collective mentality.
Yeah.
Right.
When we're talking
Always trying
about
to
warfare, when we're
compete.
talking about
That's
exactly,
right.
you know what I'm saying,
Right,
that
brother.
competition. You know what I'm saying? That's why sports is so. You got sports people, you know, people in sports making so much money, you know what I'm saying? Where
Yeah.
gardeners don't make millions of dollars like that off of 16 grow
Come
seasons
on.
or
Come
something
on.
like that, like they do for
Yeah.
16 games.
I know.
Why is that? You know what I'm saying? Because we're so fixated on this competition, but in warfare
but
and things
every
like
basketball player has to eat.
yes, man. and that's the thing. When we strip away the society of dependence, and you have to fend for yourself, you can never fend for yourself when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not, if you're not doing
Politics,
it
man,
collectively,
plays a part.
then you're
man.
gonna get wiped out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't do it collectively, everybody's gonna go by themselves, and this world goes to a point where society, as we know it, is not there. You're gonna get ate up by a pack of wolves. Each of us try to
Absolutely.
do
That's
something
right,
independently.
brother.
The
That's
animals,
right.
they already know what's up because
Right.
they've been
That's right.
battling us
Pack
for
up.
generations. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
But we feel like we're comfortable because we're in this society where we can be independent. You know what I'm saying?
And
all that.
viruses don't work that way, and that's why they're successful. If you
That
look
is.
at the flu virus,
Thank you.
it's so slick, like it'll hide. It literally lays low key underneath the cell, and then when it gets its chance, it punctures it, and it goes in, and it actually changes the programming of it, and says, "Now replicate me."
Wow.
That's what that virus does. Produce more of me.
No more flu shots, y'all.
Yeah.
No, definitely
Well,
no more.
I
flu
mean,
shot.
but
No more flu
just-
shot.
In general, even
but-
without the flu shot, what sisters is talking about, and that's called lateral gene transfer. What she just said, lateral gene transfer means ever since God created Himself and every other person since then, that's vertical gene transfer. That's how we pass down to our children. He passes down to his child.
Right.
That's the way genetic material in every species has been transferred ever since the beginning of time. genome era activity is now they have lateral gene transfer or horizontal gene transfer. So say a mosquito or a tick or something can infect you the same way, like you said, with a virus that now is designed to go into your nucleus and redesign your DNA. You know, that's what and change your DNA, and then now you pass on that defective DNA. So that's the reason why you got to be careful in this genome era when they talk about mutations.
Right.
You got a mutation, now you got cancer. Well, how do I know that you call it a random mutation, but I just said that a lateral gene transfer, I could have gotten bit by a tick or a mosquito that changed my DNA. That's what they're doing now.
Right.
That's weaponizing this kind of technology.
And it
the
makes
Zika virus. How is it that you can get bit by a mosquito and then
Pass on
end up
STD.
and pass on a STD?
that is crazy.
I'm not going
But we act
outside
like
anymore.
that's normal.
And that is not
I'm not going outside
You're
now.
gonna be in a bubble.
It's not about that.
like, huh?
But the answer,
I'm not
the answer
eating
like
or
this said,
going outside ever again.
No. The answer, it's not about fear mongering, because I know what you're saying. It do make you think like that.
Yeah.
But what it should make us do really is just get on point. Because see, if we become light bodies, this stuff passes through us. See, as long as we don't activate this kind of technology, I was talking to a Chinese guy in the sauna at the YMCA. He's a blood analyst at St. Vincent's. I thought he was a doctor because I literally, man, if y'all would see me, man, if I see anybody in some scrubs or something, I corner him up in the corner and I start sparring with him. I do this, man. So I start asking him. He said, I've been at St. Vincent's for 30 years and nobody else was in there. I'm like, ooh, 30 years. So I started talking to him. I said, are you seeing anything different in the blood? He said, well, because when those kind of professionals talk to a lay person, they really disrespect you. So he was like, oh, it's just blood, it's just blood. I started talking to him about some of the stuff we talking about in here. He said, oh, wow, there's microRNAs, messenger RNAs, RNA. DNA and RNA, that's the double helix. One strand is RNA, one strand is DNA. One translate, one prints. So this micro messenger RNA is precisely what we're talking about. So you can have these microRNAs in your blood, but if you don't activate them with oxidative stress or with radiation or with an acidic diet and all that, then this stuff just passes through you. It don't ever activate. See, the only way that this kind of technology can activate is that the cell has to be permeated. That's why radiation, Wi-Fi, EMF waves, oxidative stress, bad diets, all this causes cell permeation, which means your membrane of your cell opens up. Okay.
Wi-Fi. What do you mean by Wi-Fi?
Well,
all these microwaves on the table.
All this stuff. Because see, the thing is like this. Now the 5G they come there, they say on frequency. It's energy. See,
Yeah.
I'm Spooky Steve still. I think you can answer the phone like it's just a ghost. No, there's actually something going on that communicates, right? So that frequency, can cause cellular permeation.
And
Stuff like that.
And that's been proven.
And they don't know.
That you're not even supposed to have the cell phone up to your ear. You're supposed to have it like so far away.
Yeah. And there's somebody
They
on YouTube,
actually
they do a
recommend
test.
that you get the old-fashioned earplugs.
The earpiece, yeah.
The earplugs, not the old ones.
Oh yeah, I keep the earpiece.
The buds.
No,
yeah,
I'm talking the bud.
The piece
buds.
can still have
Not,
a little
not the
something.
Bluetooth.
Not the Bluetooth.
Ah,
Not the
man.
recording.
That's
Not
the frequency.
That's worse.
I gotta get rid of
Right
that
there.
too.
Yeah, you just
Man.
the old-fashioned earbuds that you
Yeah.
plug in and keep just the bug up to the
I'm adding to the list. I'm never using the phone.
But it's just being conscious
not
about it,
eating.
man. and
Man, I
trying
need to just go in
be
the corner,
aware.
man, and just sit.
You know,
For the rest of my life, and just sit.
No, man. But you can change stuff. Like, say, for instance, to get your toxic load down, you can do stuff like, okay, say you don't use fasting, obviously, but say you don't use toothpaste, all these lotions, all these different creams. Like, all this is unnecessary. Topically, you can just take some daggone coconut oil and use it for everything. Like
That's
conditioner,
right.
skin, brush your teeth. You can do everything. Oil pool with this stuff. You don't have to have all this stuff like that we think we have to
And
buy.
make
Deodorant,
your own.
you can use something real simple, aluminum free.
Right.
And the main thing is just trying to get your toxic load down, because our problem is that when you get to a certain level of toxicity, then you tilt over and get sick, and you think you just got sick. You were getting sick. It's not like hitting the lottery and now I'm rich. No, you either building wealth or you building habits to keep you broke.
Right.
Health is the same way. It's an
Wow,
everyday
that's a good
gradual
point.
thing.
That's a
So
great
if you
point.
keep those toxins down, then you find yourself not being affected. How can we all be in an elevator and one person sneezes and then one person gets sick, other people? You see what I mean?
And you say you
can
caught a
change
cold.
Your,
Well,
yeah.
It's just like with viruses, even STD. Who was that? The Dr. Africa?
Later.
He said, you know, when he was talking about viruses, he said, well, if it's passed from person to person, I have one question. He says, where did it come from? It still has to have a beginning.
Right.
It still has to have a starting
That's a good
point.
point.
Right. Right.
That means
And
it's
I was like,
continuous,
oh,
right?
you know, because okay, well, she got it from him, and he got it from her, and he got it from him, and blah 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 blah
But where
blah.
did it come from?
But where did it come from
Right,
to begin with? Everything has a beginning, and
Right.
then he said, if there's a beginning, it has an end.
That's right.
Ah,
So
man.
There's
the
a field
idea,
of microbiology
exactly.
called virology.
You know, so we just have to be more. We have to think. We have to take time to think and to ponder, and not be so reactionary. I encourage everybody to not be so quick to immediately start posting when Trump says
Yeah.
something or whatever the news
Yeah.
event. To kind of sit back sometimes
Yeah.
and just be quiet and reflect on what's really
I
happening.
do that a lot.
He's on
because-
Twitter for a reason.
Yes.
You know, he's putting out a message that he wants out there, and I believe it's strategic in terms of how he does it. People are like, take it away, take it away. He's putting
Distraction.
these things out here for a reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One
for
lady
sure.
said, one congressman from California, she made a good point. She said, while you all are worried about statues, she said, I'm worried about statutes.
That's the point. That's
Yeah,
right.
while you all are tripping off of that, do you not know that why are you so acting so surprised off or honing in on this one thing when everything the man has actually put in place?
Right.
Executive orders,
Right.
people. He's put one of the, a racist is the top cop of the land. I mean, so that being said, why are we surprised at this? We as a people have to stop being so
Absolutely.
surprised.
That's right.
because,
Yep.
I
No, we
mean,
should be- we
why?
should be-
Why?
I'm with you.
This should be like why?
And I'm actually glad that he's in because he is revealing,
Boom,
like he's
boom.
opening.
Open them
I mean,
eyes.
yeah. That, but like he's
Massive
making people
civility.
that try to like hide that.
Yeah, out
You
there.
know, bro,
They're
almost-
bold.
They're out of their bag
I'm
now.
almost mad,
Now,
but
yeah.
I'm mad. I'm almost mad you said that.
Yeah,
What I was
'cause
getting ready
that-
to say is we got so much harmony and agreement going on. I was gonna play devil's advocate
Okay.
and say, man, I'm a Trump supporter, but it's not that. It's almost like say you got a. Hopefully this ain't bad for y'all's audience, but say you've got a. We know what this means. Say you got a little cousin in your family, and everybody can tell that he's a little in the closet, but
Yeah,
he ain't came
yeah.
out yet. It's all trivial, but when he comes out, it's kind of like, oh, now we ain't got to. So America's coming out. This is not like America
Yeah.
changed. Honestly, Trump. I don't think it's bad. I think it's good that this stuff is coming
You
out.
have to
So
destroy
you
it
gotta
and
destroy
rebuild.
it. Because see, what wrong with black people? We got too pro-Obama, and now we too anti-Trump, and we still getting played like ping pong.
Yeah.
Under Obama, I want to say this. Under Obama, they passed what is it called? The 21st Century Cures Act. December the 16th or the 13th. But the 21st Century Cures Act allocates $9.3 billion to community hospitals to use unapproved, non-FDA approved, even if the FDA approved it, don't mean it's good, but non-FDA approved medicines that have already been proven to kill people. There's a company called Juno Therapeutics. They the ones who started it. CAR T-cell therapy. You can just type in CAR T-cell therapy, and you'll see that this is about programming viruses to go in and eat up the cancers. But these things are going in and eating all kind of stuff. Most time the brain,
Wow.
causing meningitis. And this is what the 21st Century Cures Act says. It says that $9.3 billion allocated to the community hospitals, and it also says that the victims who are adversely affected by these medicines have no recourse.
Wow.
And I'm saying it's already proven that
Right.
these kind of therapies, immunotherapies, for instance, like a lot of these new Eli Lilly drugs are called monoclonal antibodies, MAB, Solensimumab. They just had a Alzheimer's one that failed. They even got a Humira, Lyrica. All those brand names, those are
Right.
the brand names that if you look at those
Poison.
chemical or the biological names, all of them end in MAB. That's a monoclonal antibody.
Right.
Some of them are chimera antibodies. ZMAB, XEIMAB. These are just parts of the word. Then the first part of the word is saying what part of the body it's going to, I believe, too. But these are monoclonal antibodies. What does that mean? They clone them. And these are antibodies from animals sometimes. Mouse antibodies, chimera antibodies. Now, we would think that chimeras don't exist. Chimera is
Right.
part human, part animal. But
Right.
these medicines on the market right now have chimera antibodies in them. Now, my question should be this. Why do I need the immune cells of something strange unless the disease comes from that same kind of experimentation?
Right.
It's just
Right.
simple. Why I need an elephant gun to kill a mouse? No, you need the
Right.
appropriate weapon for the appropriate offender, so that would mean that they're producing this stuff, man. It's real simple. If I need an immune system from a damn
Right.
part animal, part human to correct my immune
Right.
system, who's throwing off the immune system
Right.
that I need to borrow?
Right. That makes me, and that makes me think. Like, a lot of people say like we all bleed, right? We all bleed. We all blood, skin, all that. Here's the thing: do you believe that there are drugs out there that will work for a certain race of people, but not work for another group of people?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
already been proven. The swine flu that attacked, that showed up, it's been some years now in Mexico, is where they said, and it was killing Hispanics and giving everybody else a mild case of the flu.
Right.
The same thing with the, what was it, the Ebola that
Yeah, I remember
hit
that.
Africa. Well, of course, in that case, they had a cure that some of their workers they gave. You remember the guy that flew back?
Yeah.
And
It worked for him.
And it worked for him.
It didn't work for everybody else.
So they have bioengineered, basically, it's biological warfare.
Right.
And that is it's predisposed to our DNA. You can look up Henrietta Lacks and the HeLa cells and her book. What was the book called? With
The Immortal Life.
The Immortal Life
I got
of
that one.
Henrietta
The
Lacks.
Immortal Life of Henrietta
If you
Lacks.
read that book, boy, I couldn't get through without having to put it down,
I know,
scream,
sis.
and then pick it up again
Right.
and scream, because it's just
It's her
filled
sales.
with
Yeah.
it's so much of the. And there's another book called Medical Apartheid, which I also have.
Harriet Washington.
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
And Scoot, Rebecca Skloot was the one that wrote the Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. But in either
right,
case,
sis.
great book, good read.
That's right.
They set up a factory to manufacture these HeLa cells. These
Okay.
were where they took the cells of a black woman, cancerous cells that were in her cervix. She died in excruciating pain, but not before they took cells from her unbeknownst to her. And her cells, her cancer cells, did something that they couldn't get other cells to do.
Never before.
They replicated themselves.
That's right. That's right.
And they were able to use them for most cancer research that takes place today
Wow.
is based
Polio
off
vaccine?
of this black backlight. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Now peep this out. The cancer cells, they became airborne. And they set up a factory. This is all in the book in Tuskegee, Alabama, to produce batches of these HeLa cells. HeLa, Henrietta, H-E, the
That's
first,
right.
and Lax, L-A, the last, her name.
Wow.
So the first and two letters of her first name and last name. That's where
That's
HeLa
right.
cells come from.
Wow.
And they manufactured in mass these HeLa cells, which they sold for millions and millions
right.
of dollars all
Around
over
the
the
world.
world to
That's right.
science.
That's
I mean,
right.
they've gone to, her cells went to the moon and
right.
whatnot. The book is fun. I think Oprah's now doing
Yeah.
the
Yeah. She
movie
did a
off of
movie.
it, or
Yes,
did it
yeah, I
already?
heard that.
Okay.
What's the movie called?
I think
Probably
it's
by the
thing,
same name, The
title.
Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
Okay.
Call
I'm
her
gonna have to look that
immortal
up.
because she. But
That's the
point
book
being
of it?
is that
Yeah,
the Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. It's a great book. But ask yourself this question about Tuskegee: why did they choose Tuskegee, the same place where the syphilis and Henrietta Lacks actually had syphilis
Wow.
before she developed the cancer of the
Tuskegee
cervix.
experiment.
And then the Tuskegee experiments were also held there, and you'll find some interesting information about the man who was actually on the board of trustees, the head of the board of trustees of Tuskegee, because we think Tuskegee, we think Booker T, but he was not the trustee.
Right.
The man that was part of the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm going to leave it there and make everybody else do their
Wow.
research.
Yes, man.
Oh,
So my
man.
point being is there's no
That's heavy.
coincidence why Tuskegee is the center of where these experiments are taking place or took place. But it should be, of no surprise. And wiggling my way back to your
Right, for
original
sure, for
question
sure.
about
Yeah.
can diseases be tailor-made for races?
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's crazy
Absolutely.
because then you think about not only the different races, but you think about man and woman, they're genetically a little different when it comes to drugs, but they have on the drug labels adult and child. So, why are men taking the same amount of drugs, and why are men and women taking the same amount of drugs? I think I seen an article on that where it was saying that
That is a-
women should actually be taking less less than than they say an adult should have, as opposed to what's on the label.
Body weight.
Yeah, based on body weight and size and stuff. But it's just strange that like they've just grouped everybody into this thing. Like you take this, it should really be more detailed,
That's exactly
and
right.
and
And most-
We all have different biochemistry,
Right.
different
Yeah.
deficiencies,
Right.
different gene
Right.
types and whatnot. But the question to answer that, this article that I said with biotechnology a potential to harm, is right here.
You're talking to the mic.
Oh,
now.
sorry.
Yeah.
New York Times. It says with biotechnology a potential to harm. This is the science section, November 27th of 2001. There it is, with biotechnology at the potential to harm. Now look what it says right here about what you just said about a particular group.
Yeah.
It says one fear is that such information could be used to create germs that hurt only a particular ethnic group by targeting
wow.
gene sequences unique to that group. That's New York Times. This
Oh,
is just
my
the
goodness.
straight up mainstream stuff,
Wow.
So that's why when people say, "Oh, this is edgy," and no. That's why we try to give all the facts and the sources, like this referencing in
Right. And we've given nothing but pure facts
pure
tonight,
facts.
y'all.
So
You
anybody
can look this stuff up.
You can't argue this
Read
stuff.
it.
Right.
So this
Yeah.
is beautiful.
Read it.
Beautiful that we.
And
get
if you
this
want to
out.
argue, great. Read it.
Absolutely.
Because still's going to require that you do some
That's
research.
right. That's right.
Wow, this has been incredible, y'all. And we got to do this again. I mean, so much information. I'm taking it all in. I'm like, what movie is that? I'm gonna go back and watch this because I'm gonna be actually write everything down and just skim through everything. Because you know what? That's what we have to do.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why this dialogue is so important. And nobody's saying go do it. We're saying go look it up,
That's
go
right.
read it,
That's
go
right.
research it, and then you
right.
can know for yourself
That's
and make a
right.
decision for yourself.
Absolutely.
But man, urban farming, eugenics, all this stuff is very important, and it's another topic that yet again that I had no idea about, and I'm so glad that you guys were able to come here and share this information with us.
Wow, I'm
We
happy.
got to
about
do
We're
this
happy to
again.
be
Anytime,
here.
absolutely,
All
y'all.
praise
Yeah.
to
And y'all keep up the beautiful work y'all doing, man. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Hey, thank
Yes,
you, man.
keep this
We would definitely,
thank you.
bring y'all
Thank
back
you. We will. We
soon,
will.
like
Yeah.
very, very soon. Yeah.
Just everybody go out there and understand what we've been talking about and go do their research and understand, support those
Yeah.
who trying to do this. You got sister who got the garden right here. Brother got the knowledge. He go ahead and cut your hair and tell you what's going on over there on 38th and Keystone. You got,
Absolutely.
You have an Eat to Live cafe that
Right.
you know what I'm saying
Absolutely.
the name
Come on.
is in it. You feel
That's
me?
right, bro.
So you know what
Wow.
I'm saying, Flanner House over there on the west side,
Come on.
MLK.
Yeah.
Holla at your boy. You going to that
Right.
gas station, get them potato chips, come get a tomato real quick.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's right. That's
You know what I'm
right.
saying? The difference between
That's
that.
Get a
right.
real
That's
tomato.
right, my brother.
Yeah, a real
Real
tomato.
tomato.
What
Red-
time do y'all open to where people can come and
So
buy the stuff? Yeah.
red beans and greens. We usually do second. I believe second or third. I'm sorry. What's this coming up? The second Saturday or the third Saturday coming up right now?
Third.
Third Saturday. So we do the first and third Saturdays. Kepler Institute has a food co-op as well.
Yes.
And they do second Saturdays.
Shout
Theirs-
out to Kepler.
Theirs is $25. You know what I'm saying? Ours is $35 if you're a member. If
Okay.
you become a member, it's $30.
Okay.
And then Flanner House Farms, I believe on Fridays, but we're going to be trying to, revamp that and have different locations. But on
Okay.
Fridays, you should be able to come and check the produce out. Come at any time, though. And, you know what I'm saying, over at the Flanner House and find
Okay.
out what's going on. Check out the garden, see what's going on with that, see how
Nice.
you can help out.
Before
you
it
know?
get cold.
Exactly,
Right.
deal with that. And I'm going to let them do their thing, but I just want to also plug in, you know what I'm saying, I'm on the Kwanzaa committee, and that first principle is umoja, unity, to strive for and maintain unity in our
Absolutely.
family
Beautiful,
community.
man.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Nation, race. So, you know what I'm saying, in order for this to go on, we have to maintain what's going on. You're not going to be able to go on a diet and eat healthy and be able to do that. It has to be a lifestyle.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
There you go.
Good point.
Steve.
Good point, bro. Well, I just want to say I had mentioned before about barbers being doctors. So I want to just, before I get off,
Sure,
commend the many barbers that I know, many of my friends, but we got to take it further than putting makeup in people's hair and make them look ready for the club or look
Absolutely.
Hollywood ready. Like, it's got to get deeper than that, you
Yeah.
know. And because we had a history of medical practice, I'm just encouraging. I'm 42, and anybody my age or older, anywhere around, I mean, even if you are vain and you cutting hair for the profit, you better keep your customers alive, man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because, even if you got a vain motivation, but out of a love for our people, we should make every environment, particularly the barbershop, like our country club. Everybody knows this. The movie showed that. It made mockery, but the barbershop is a place where everybody's there.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's where I spend most of my time. But, whatever I can do, man, to aid in our healing. We are in a war, and we have to use intelligence and patience and dialogue. Where we're not.
Absolutely.
It's not like we have to be impatient
Right.
in this process, but we do have to be persistent and function like soldiers, man, because we're under attack. So just encourage barbers and people who have an interest, man, to heal, man. First, start with trying to heal yourself, your family and whatnot.
Yes.
But when you get a grip on it, you start getting more and more phone calls. So I call myself a health coach. I'm not charging any money or anything like that yet, but when I start getting burdened, I'd help people. But when I start getting burdened, then now I would have to make it
Absolutely.
an economic situation, or
Right,
else I'd
right.
be out the door.
And that's-
So where do you cut
Yeah,
at?
Absolutely.
Actually, Studio 74, man. It's where the mosque is
Okay.
located at
Yeah.
on 38th in Baltimore. And I'm Brother Nuri's barber. I
It's
don't
called
want to
Studio
name
34?
drop. 74, Studio 74.
Studio 74.
But
It's
I'm-
right next
I'm
to
not
the,
being-
cafe.
We need business, man, but I got my own clientele.
Okay.
I'm not, you know what I mean? But I do appointments and I'll be scheduled.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm Brother Nuri's barber, man. So if people like his haircut, most people see it, they
Yeah,
like
it's
it. Man,
fresh.
that's my
Every
work.
time he comes
Always.
That's my
Always.
work.
Every time he
But
comes
yeah, it's
through.
been real, man. So that's what it is, man. It's all
Okay.
love. Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's-
come and
That's awesome.
bring my boy with me, my son.
That's cool, man. You
Yeah.
appreciate it. We got
Yeah.
another barber and one stylist, so we appreciate the
Make sure
business,
y'all
man.
get a final call when y'all over there too.
Sure indeed. That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
That's
That's
right.
the new paper,
Awesome.
newspaper ever.
Sure indeed. That's right. Yeah,
Vivian?
you can't go without that.
The Elephant Gardens is located at 3348 Sherman, and you can go to our website, which is theelephantgardens.com, and hit us up. We're on Facebook also, the Elephant Gardens, and I'd like
You never
to hear
told us
from
what the
you.
significance of the elephant garden was.
The elephant. Okay. Well, the main significance is that the elephant is an herbivore, as
Okay.
you know. So even though it has one of the largest footprints, it's very green. But the character of the elephant is really what we went for, because we are an organic vegetable garden mainly, though we do have fruits there
Awesome.
as well. The elephants are fiercely loyal to their youth
Yeah.
and to their community. And we thought, what better symbol for an urban garden
Beautiful, man.
than the
That's
elephant for
beautiful.
that
Awesome.
reason.
It is.
That's great.
And so that's why the Elephant Gardens. And it is also a low-key shout-out to Donald Lewis Farrakhan.
There you go. There you go.
What's
The
up?
LF. So that's just my own little low-key.
Okay.
But at any rate, that being said, I'm humbled and honored to be able to share any kind of information I have. We are always looking for knowledge, just people to come help us, to learn to serve you better, and to be a better servant for our community. We're always looking for people to teach. We're always looking for people to help. I've just found out, through doing this, that, the money and it comes kind of organically. I don't
Right.
really kind of
Right.
really stress over that.
Passion first.
Yeah, and famine's coming, and I'm
Yeah.
going to leave it there because I truly believe that, and I believe that you need to really take that to heart.
Absolutely.
Sisters, get back in the kitchen,
That's right.
and stop, feeding your family this poison. And there's nothing wrong with being in the kitchen. You can become the scientist of your kitchen. And that in and of itself will help save yourself and your family and your community.
Absolutely.
And so, and that being said, let's all strive and work together as a community to get ourselves out of the situation that we find ourselves in. If we can collectively, through cooperative operations, get ourselves up out of the sunken place.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right, sis.
There's a
Yes.
Black Farmers Market coming up on August the 26th.
August 22nd?
26th.
26.
Miracles and Blessings United Methodist
34th
Church,
and
34th
Forest
and
Manor.
Forest Manor. So, that's going to be on the 26th
Wow.
from 12 to
Yes.
3. You can just type in Black Farmers Market
Yes.
on Facebook and be able to check
Nice.
that out right there. And Red Beans and Greens, we're on Facebook as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so just do Red Beans and Greens and check that out. And you can become a member by looking at that and seeing where you need to go for that.
Okay.
And things like that. So information is there.
Yes.
Okay.
We-
There
And
it
the
is.
Black
Ready.
farmers are coming together, so please support.
Black Farmers Market. Get out there.
Yes.
Right.
Support.
Yes.
Ebony.
As usual, I'm always very, very thankful. I love co-hosting the show with these brothers and having guests
been a
on
blessing.
because
Thank you.
it's
Good job.
like I feel like I'm always a part of the audience, and I'm always like it's like school, like I'm going to class. When I come to the Gray Area,
That's
awesome.
So
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys because like you really like have pricked me back to my discipline, and I'm like, dang, everything you're saying, I'm like, man,
We know.
I remember
That's what it's
that.
about.
I need to get back to that.
Come on,
So I appreciate it. So
All praises
yeah.
be to Allah.
Same here.
Awesome. Big Wills. He ain't going outside no more. He gonna be in the studio tonight thinking
Come on down there, bro.
how he ain't gonna get to the car.
I sincerely appreciate y'all, man, for coming.
Appreciate y'all, man.
I mean, I learned a lot, and I mean, I'm. We have to eat to live, man, but you know, we have to unify too, and just be more educated on foods and economics, man.
That's right.
Period.
Hand in hand.
I mean, thank you to all the viewers that tuned in. I mean, and I hope that whoever tuned in, you know, can really take all the information, you know, or just some of it, man, and just utilize it as soon as possible. I mean, I really can't
right.
find words, man. I mean, I learned so much. And like what, you know, Ebony said, you know, I feel like a student, you know, just in class, man, just, you know, listening. So, and like, we would definitely have you guys back, like, soon. Yeah, that's it, man.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
I'm gonna push him out of the studio tonight. Make sure he get to the car.
Make sure he gets
I'm
home.
gonna put a bag over his head.
I don't even want to drive, you know what I'm saying? I drive, you know, the gas burning, you know, the toxins, man, from the gas, the oil, you know, mess with my brain. Come on, man.
That's what's up, man. It's been real.
Oh man, don't roll out of the house in a plastic bubble, man.
Oh, my goodness, man.
It's gonna be all right.
Let's try to do this again like wintertime. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Nah,
We-
sooner
we
than that.
definitely- Yeah, we definitely
No,
gonna
but
set
like-
something.
Hey, sooner than that, brother.
Sooner than that, but like,
We can bring you back, man. Yeah.
like living in Indiana, like how can we do this? You know what I'm saying? When it comes to that, you
There's
know,
a
3
chapter
feet
made
of
in there,
toes,
Absolutely.
all that.
I
so-
saw that man in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a
Most
chapter.
definitely.
Absolutely,
It
and
is.
that's what we'll do.
December.
We'll start.
Yeah.
We'll start digging into the book and
Yes.
start. You know,
That would be a
maybe we can
blessing.
provide some
Y'all
recipes
sell these,
for
don't y'all?
you know some
At
people.
the
Yes,
mosque for
yes.
$7 now.
Yes.
And see, I bought these like 6 years ago, man, for like $5 each.
Yes. That's when we were.
Yes.
Now you gotta dust them off.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. No, I mean, you're right, man.
Low key.
No, I mean, seriously.
People, everybody that has
We
them,
the
we all
same,
need
yeah.
to
I-
dust
I- I
them
can
off.
say-
Seriously, I mean, you're right.
That ain't no pun against you.
Yeah.
No,
Pun intended.
seriously.
No,
I
I
mean,
know,
you were
you
absolutely right because I was just telling him
Yeah.
Tuesday. You know, we have like our own, you know, library,
Uh-huh.
and you know, we'll show you guys, you know, before you leave. But you know, I was telling him like, look, man, we have to read more, man.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
You know, buying all these books and not reading them, you know, we get caught up in our everyday lives and everything.
Yeah.
But we don't feed our
It's
brain.
so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, but like I really have to start reading more, like really, and you know, I read like a paragraph of that. I'm like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
you know, and I've had those books for like 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, then the more you read, you'll find
You
it,
find-
it get fun. After a while, especially when you start really connecting dots, and like
Oh, yeah.
Sis kept saying, connect the dots. You literally can. I don't want to be low down, but you can get off a little bit. I don't know. That's the best way for me to put it.
Yeah.
It ain't like
Right,
the angels.
right,
You
right.
really can just be like,
Yeah.
wow, and just so
Right,
then it's easy
yeah.
to make the decisions because now you're building that mental muscle. You know what I mean? So when it comes
Absolutely.
time
Right.
to you encounter that situation, now you got more ammunition, more strength.
Yeah.
you know
Which
what I
is
mean?
what
Because you've
we've
been
gotten
feeding
away
your brain.
from, building our
Exactly.
mental muscle.
That's
You
right.
know,
Yes.
so things are getting easier. We stop doing
Exercise that
certain
brain.
things.
Come on.
To exercise it.
Man.
Don't memorize telephone numbers anymore.
That's
Oh,
right.
man.
That's right. That's
I was
right.
just telling my son, like, and I'll leave y'all with this. My son was trying to figure out a way to remember things for a test, and this is how I remember things. We remember things we want to remember, and I remember
Right.
things that I want to remember. So I told him if for me to, in order for me to remember things I remember, I read something, and then I'll go away for 30 minutes, and I'll see if I can remember what I read.
Yeah.
And I continue doing that process, and I like literally can remember a page if I continue to do that.
Wow.
right. Yep.
Yes.
And I tell him, I
Absolutely.
said that's how I used to. That's how I used to
Yes.
pass all my tests
Yeah.
because I used to go over and study the
Photographic
stuff,
memory.
and then I would leave it for 10, 20 minutes, and I'll try to see if I can remember it myself. If I can remember it without looking at that paper, it stays in my mind forever.
That's right.
And I kept doing that for each line, so I would ace test. I mean, it was just easy.
And see, when you had that kind of skill, you had to be humble, because I kind of do that too. But sometimes, our people, they get impressed by that.
Yeah.
They're like, and that's not what you're doing it for. It's like, I'm not trying
Right.
to impress
Yeah, exactly.
you.
Right,
So
right.
This New York Times
Absolutely.
article, brother was reading it. He was reading, and he don't know I read it 20 times. So the
Right.
fact that I could say what he was reading, he's like, man, did y'all see that? I'm like, man, it wasn't that serious.
Right,
This is not
right.
like
It's
impressive.
all mental
It's
muscle.
all mental. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
easy
all
to do
mental.
the more you practice.
Right, and it's something you practice. It ain't nothing to show off
it ain't
about.
overnight.
It's just that that's something you do.
That's right.
I remember the first time that I did that, and I to this day still know the entire Greek alphabet, and I have no use for
Wow. See there?
it. I can recite it from the front to the back,
Wow.
and I have no use for it. But I remember the first time that I was able to remember something like that, and that was my first time practicing memory.
Yeah, he
So-
teases me all the time on my memory. Like,
Yeah, his
doing
memory
it
is
with
great.
doing it with a beat or a melody, like you talk about the alphabet,
Absolutely.
you remember that because
Yeah.
of the beat and the melody and the type of people that we are. You know what I'm saying? That's even that.
Absolutely.
Our griots used to tell the stories in the beat and the melody, and so
Right.
that's why we so influential with the rappers and how the MCs
Yeah.
come out there, and it's about the delivery. You
Right.
feel
Yeah,
me?
right,
And all
right.
that. So
Right.
with me, memory, like I suck. You know what I'm saying when it
Yeah.
comes to memory, but how I do is I try to do it with a beat and a melody, and so when
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I need to recall, I remember that melody that I'm trying to do, and it kind of comes automatic. almost,
Absolutely.
Shout out to Brother Nuri.
Yeah.
He said this. Brother Nuri said this. He said, "You remember what you care about."
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
That's what we have to be
Absolutely.
honest with.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes when we don't,
Yeah.
now of course you can forget some things, but sometimes when you keep forgetting, you don't care.
Right, right,
There's
right.
Stuff that you
right.
care about, you can't forget.
You can't
honestly,
forget.
you know what I mean?
That's
It
true.
stays. It'll plague you sometimes.
That's
So it's
true.
a matter of where our values and priorities are.
Right.
So I mean, that's one thing you got to look at. Stuff you remember and come right to you, and stuff that you don't. You got to say, man, how do I regard this thing that I'm trying to
Absolutely.
remember, and get into the values and kind of
Absolutely.
what undergirds what you
That's
remember.
why this is important, man.
It is, man.
This is love.
Thank you for doing this.
No problem.
Shout out to the
Appreciate
gray area.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's been big,
We
yeah.
really do appreciate that. I just want to, for one, thank y'all for coming again. We're going to set something up tentatively after this to make sure we bring you guys on to continue having this dialogue. I also want to thank Ebony for always
Yes.
being genuine and coming in here and helping us out.
Sis.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Just
Yeah, she
appreciate
gets
it.
it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she makes it happen. Man.
Yeah. And,
Yes.
I just want to thank our viewers. I always thank our viewers because we have some of the most faithful people, and they continue tuning in and loving our stuff, and it can't get no more organic than that. You know what I'm saying? And we also can't do it without them sharing and loving and listening in, because that just gives us more motivation to do it again next time.
That's right.
I love the commentary.
One last question:
Yeah.
is there a possible way that any questions or whatever, like maybe the next time that we come on, maybe questions like did we get any questions? Anybody calling in and stuff like that?
Oh, we
Yeah,
have
some
plenty of
questions.
questions.
someone
Yeah,
with
yeah,
their
yeah.
questions. Oh, I got you. Hey, some of the
Yeah.
You were
dialogue.
actually talking, and you were answering their
Wow.
questions.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
you
Okay.
were
Yeah.
talking
That's important. Like you said, that feedback,
Absolutely.
making sure that people
Absolutely.
Man, good point, man. Great
Yeah,
point,
so on my tablet, I get a glimpse of like the questions that people come. Like every
Yeah, or
time
like
somebody
comments
chimes
and
in,
stuff,
I get
yeah.
to see it real quick.
I
That's why you
got
see
you.
me look down and I look
I
up.
got you.
I'm
Yeah,
actually
and that's
reading
what,
and
yeah,
conversing.
like I'm
Yeah,
doing
so I'm
over
trying to
here.
implement that into the
Okay.
questions.
I got you.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
yeah. But also, if we don't catch something, you guys can also go back and watch it, and while you're live, and also comment.
I got you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you can comment.
That's right.
Yeah, because
I got
it'll go in right at
And
that
I'm gonna
timestamp while you're watching it.
post those in the,
Yeah.
comments, the
So-
resources.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we like Facebook. Facebook's a good way to interact with people, and then people can go back and watch it as many times
Yep,
as they
that's
want.
right. It's
So,
awesome platform, man.
yeah. So thank y'all for that, and
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
man. It's been
sir.
real.
we will see you guys next week. We got something pretty cool coming up, and as again, we'll send out an alert, let you guys see it, and you guys can tell us what you think and tune in. Thank you.
That's what's
Thank
up.
you.
Thank you,
Peace.
bro. All right, peace.
Peace.
Really good.
Welcome to the Gray Area. The Gray Area Media. We've obligated ourselves to be the voice for all communities, speaking on topics that include community, religion, education, politics, technology, sports, health, and wellness. The Gray Area Media is a platform created by longtime friends for the sole purpose of providing our communities with the ability to voice current, past, and modern day issues. The Gray Area, in its naming significance, solely speaks to the area in which people shy away from speaking because of media-based constraints or contractual-based obligations. Well, I'm here to tell you, we don't do that here. So please, stay tuned in. We're going to go live in a few minutes. Don't forget, please add us as a friend on Facebook so that you can follow our live feed. And not only that, please add us on Twitter and Instagram at The Gray Area Media. please visit our website at www.thegreatareamedialive.com. Thank you.